Hello everybody, my name is Brooklyn, otherwise known as TheDramaticOtaku, and welcome to today's episode of the Weeb Wrap-Up. If you don't know what the Weeb Wrap-Up is, it is my bi-monthly review series, this being for January and February of 2025. I talk about all of the anime and manga that I have read and watched in the last 2 months. And as always, there is spoilers for everything I talk about. Also, if you're a fan, it is like 35 degrees today, so it's very hot, so the fan is staying on, whether you like it or not. And, surprise, surprise, my anime drought has come to an end. So, we are actually going to start with the thing that I did less of this month, which was reading manga, as I only have 2 series of manga that I read in January of 2025. Starting with In the Name of the Mermaid Princess. I need to put on my glasses. Okay, so I didn't actually write a lot for either books, except for a number rating and the start of a sentence. In the Name of the Mermaid Princess Volume 2, first of all, I didn't expect to continue this series. If you had seen my last episode where I read Volume 1, I was like, oh, this is a cute series, it's not something that I'm really going to pick up because, like, I only found 1 volume and it doesn't seem like it's the type of series to continue after the first volume. I was wrong, as I've picked up the 3rd volume as well, so when I saw these, I sort of just had to buy them, and I am in the middle, I'm at the start of reading Volume 3. That is sort of my go-to-work read book, and this was for a while as well. First of all, Miss Karuna, who is a kind of antagonist in this, she's a side character. She is very pretty. I read this in a couple sectors over a couple of days. As I said, the Volume 3 is something that I'm reading when I'm going to and from work. Same thing happened here. This definitely was a fun read nonetheless, and I didn't really expect it to go the way that it is going with, you can see on the front page of this volume, there is a wolf character. Because apparently our main character isn't just a mermaid, she is, I think it's like an elementia or something like that. Definitely an elemental. But her element is the water, and I just found that very interesting. I honestly didn't expect to like this as much as it was. I am missing our male protagonist, which is this character here, or a love interest in this story, so I can't wait to see what happens in the next volume, especially with a new side character and potential another love interest. And I'm interested to see what happens. There's not a whole lot to say. This is just a cute light read. I gave it a 6 out of 10 just because it's a cute light read. It's not the most in-depth of anything that I've read, so yeah, that is In the Name of the Mermaid Princess Volume 2. Now, the next one that I picked up is it's an interesting read. It is a, what's it called? It's called I Cross-Dressed for the IRL Meetup. Now, this one, cute series. This is one that I'm genuinely not sure if I'm going to be continuing, just because, first of all, the volumes are really thick, but second of all, it's just not as engaging. It's a little too light and fluffy, slice of lifey for me, but the concept is actually quite funny. So our main character, I do like the whole aspects of our main character here is actually an actor, and that's why he likes dressing up to go out, but also that he feels he can be more himself as like this dressed up version of himself. I think the character that he chose was Coco. They all have like sweet name alibis. The whole reason I might not pick up another volume is just because it's one of those series where it's like not a lot happens. Like, you get all the interpersonal conflicts, but there isn't a whole lot at stake in the first volume, and it's just a little too slice of lifey. If you do like that stuff, this does play with gender a lot, and you can't really tell if like the characters want to be close because they're friends or if they're like interested in each other. You do get a little bit of like queer relationships in it. I do think it is very cute, very fluffy for that. So I would definitely recommend it if you want something on the more lighthearted side. But this is just not a series that I can see myself sort of continuing in the future, just because I have that much to read. But this, for a one-shot for me, this was pretty cute. Granted, I did say Name of the Mermaid Princess is something that I would only pick up once, and I've got the second volume, so you never know. I gave this a 7.75 out of 10. I couldn't give it an 8 because of like the lighthearted fluffiness, but I couldn't give it like a 6 because it's not as like it's more entertaining than this, you know, so I couldn't. Yeah. So those are the two that I read in January of 2025. Anime for 2025 January. Ooh, did we watch a lot? So 2025 anime. I actually watched a lot of anime in January. A lot in heavy quotation marks, a lot compared to the last 4 months of the year. So, while everybody was watching Squid Game 2, something I've still yet to watch, I decided to watch this cool new anime, Dandaran. Now, I did notice the manga for this anime in stores a while ago, and I was interested in it. I just never ended up picking it up. But to see it as it turned into an anime, I did decide that I did want to watch it. I just was a little bit scared off by the fact that it's a shonen anime, and it's one of those animes that a lot of dude bro anime enthusiasts got a hold of, and when that sort of crowd gets a hold of an anime, I get a little on the like iffy side on whether I want to watch it or not. So, Dandaran. What the fuck did I just watch? Like, legitimately, what the fuck was the first episode of Dandaran? Dandaran follows Momo, a gyaru with a love for Ken Takakura. If you don't know who Ken Takakura is, Google it, but he is an old-timey actor. He's an older actor. And a sense of responsibility over people getting bullied, which brings in Okarun, otherwise known as Ken Takakura. A different Ken Takakura, of course, but it's still got Momo shook. Momo believes in ghosts, Okarun believes in aliens, and they do not believe in the inverse. So this unlikely duo of nerd and gyaru dare each other to go to a haunted and a UFO-infested area, which leads to Okarun getting possessed and Momo unlocking her psychic powers and nearly getting probed by aliens with metal dicks. What was the first episode? I told you I didn't know what I was fucking watching. The goal of this anime? To get Okarun's dick and balls back. Literally, what the fuck am I watching? Without spoiling too much, I really do like Dandaran. I think it's refreshing to have a female protagonist to a popular shonen again. Last time I watched one of those, it was Noragami. And last time I read one, it was Inuyasha. And Dandaran is a more vulgar and more modern shonen than the latter two. When I say that, it's more in the realm of, say, My Hero Academia, despite being a similar subject matter to Noragami. I find the characters very relatable and much more grounded in reality to shows like My Hero Academia or maybe even Noragami. Like, while these two are obviously like characters, I could see these two being actual real people with how real their own interpersonal problems are. This situation, absolutely the fuck not. This could not be a real situation, no. There were fully moments where I audibly asked what the fuck I was watching, especially in the first episode. Go in to Dandaran if you're going to watch it, fully knowing you're going to be asking what the fuck you're watching in the first episode. If you like Psyche K and liked early My Hero Academia, I'd definitely recommend this, as it's a good blend of the two. So much so that I thought Ira was basically Teruhashi. I think it is so funny that Gigi is totally based on a K-pop or J-pop idol, especially in looks. Instantly I fucking knew based on that haircut, and I will say Dandadan does have its moments. I've had this series floating around the corner of my mind for a fair while because of anime Instagram/YouTube. And when episode 7 or 8 released, I saw a lot about how that episode was so devastating, and then you cut to the ending with the little lucky cat and the what's it called, and the hairdryer blowing in its fucking face, and how it's gone from this devastating scene to this goofy ass little cat. Now, I won't be giving you the name of the cat because that genuinely ruined a plot point for me when people started talking about the cat's name. I didn't want to believe anyone just because usually people blow that sort of shit out of proportion. It usually happens more so in the sense of lewd goings on than sad goings on. But I didn't want to believe people because I'm just like, it's just a silly anime. How sad could it be? And then I got to the anime. I got to episode 7 or 8. And it was really fucking sad. And then you had that stupid little cat with the fucking hairdryer. I hate this show! As I said before, I will say I was hesitant to get into Dandadan just because of the Dude Bros of Anime really took a hold onto this series. Like, so much so I genuinely thought Okarun was the main character of the series and not Momo. He's not. He's a protagonist, but he's not the protagonist. Momo is definitely more of the protagonist, but it's like sort of a Bakudeku in My Hero or a Yato and Hiyori in Noragami. And again, I find it very refreshing, and I love that our protagonist is a gyaru as well. Not a lot of people picked up on that, but she is a gyaru just by the way that she dresses and by her friends that she hangs out with. You can tell that she's a gyaru. I really loved it. I thought it was really funny, and I would recommend it. I give it a 7.5 out of 10. Fucking be careful of the first episode because it's a lot, and I nearly clicked off because I was like, what the actual fuck am I watching? If you want to know some notes that I took when watching this, I do have some. Episode 1, what the actual fuck was I watching? Episode 4, everyone in this family is crazy. Show it to me. And that is Momo's grandmother for everyone. Why the fuck is episode 5's title like Where Are Your Balls? Episode 6, the pink-haired chick is totally Teruhashi in a different universe. Nah, she didn't fucking find Okarun's balls. Episode 7, bro was told to kick her and he fucking headbutts her. This isn't Momo's mother, surely. Bro, Ira's story is so sad, and the acrobatics ghost story is also really sad. Oh my fucking god, that's brutal. Episode 8, thank you King for noticing they look alike. Is that Godzilla? Moving forward, in my anime for 2025 January, we have Mononoke. Oh my god, 2 anime in 1 month already? Can you believe it? Mononoke is a little high-paced and a little bit confusing and a lot on the eyes, but it is genuinely intriguing. I will admit there are some things I needed to go to Reddit to get explained to me, but this is specifically a story that is designed for you to rewatch and understand over time. Now, I'm not going to go through the plot just because it is, as I said, a little confusing. Basically, these 2 girls are going into this palace of, I think, not the emperor, but like a king or something, or someone in very high regard. And they are trying to be either concubines or they're trying to be housemaids, stuff like that. It's a little weird to explain, but it is a supernatural story. Mononoke is like a vengeful spirit, and that is what happens. It is a story about a vengeful spirit, and basically these 2 girls are reliving the story of this vengeful spirit. or like the life of the vengeful spirit when they were in life. It's a little hard, a little confusing. I did enjoy it quite a bit because I thought it was very interesting. Again, it's a series that it's a movie that I have to rewatch, and it is the start of a series. So it's up to you if you want to watch it. I have given a pretty shit review on it, but I gave it about a 6-ish out of 10, just because the pacing, the insane visuals, and the like parts that I didn't pick up on did sort of catch me out a little bit. Okay. And finally, our last of the anime of the day, we have Ranma 1/2. So watching this show, Winter is very, very intrigued. Now, this isn't the 90s version or the 80s version. This is the modern adaptation of Ranma 1/2, and I think this will kick my ass to actually go and watch the adaptation of Urusei Yatsura, just because I can't stand around reading all the manga and then go, actually I want to watch the like 70s anime. No, actually I want to watch the modern anime. Doing the same thing that I did with Sailor Moon. We're not doing that. So I hadn't read Ranma 1/2, but I do over here have the books, and you can sort of see I do have little figurines, or like I have plastic figurines. So I watched the 2024 anime release, I think. I really loved the colors and stylization. There were a couple times where I zoned out and didn't really know what was happening, but I honestly loved this. Takahashi's works are so fun to be adapted into anime form, and especially adapted to like a modern day setting. I really thought it was quite fun. The stylization of the fight between Ranma and Ryoga, I love how the art style takes from like 80s and 90s inspirations and really follows Takahashi's art style to a T, where some like readaptations of series tend to like make the characters more modern and look more modern. I really like that the Ranma series does definitely take from its roots and from its like 90s counterpart. I do really like that. Obviously it is following the art style of Rumiko Takahashi, but I like that it's clean but also has a very 90s style to it, that it's not super polished and shiny, unlike what I see from the Urusei Yatsura reboot. I thought it was really fun. I really, really want to see another season, and I'm insanely motivated to actually get started into reading Ranma 1/2. I do have the first volume of it. I've got the first like duplicate volume of it. Then I have volumes, I think 5 and 6. I don't have 3 and 4 yet, which is what has held me back from reading Ranma 1/2, plus the fact that I'm reading Inuyasha and Urusei Yatsura and haven't finished either of those series because they have fucking massive books. I need to fucking get my shit down and finish one of them. This is why I read Mermaid Saga first. Anyway, I honestly would give Ranma 1/2 an 8 out of 10. I thought it was so fucking fun, and like fun in a different way to Dandadan. Like, I like older anime and older series, and to have Ranma 1/2 be rebooted, I just thought it was really fun, and I really want to get back into reading Rumiko Takahashi. So I can't recommend it highly enough. I thought it was a bit of fun, and I did also watch it in English again. I was doing this while doing my XG stuff, so that's sort of why. Anyway, that is all for January of 2025. Let's get into February. February anime. We started off so well in January, and we got zero February anime. Now it's not from lack of trying. Not from lack of trying. I did watch some Yu Yu Hakusho, I watched some of Slam Dunk, I watched some of Sakamoto Days, but between me not being interested in Sakamoto Days, watching a quarter of season 1 of Yu Yu Hakusho, and 1, maybe 2.5 episodes of Slam Dunk, and then my Netflix subscription running out, I didn't quite get to finish any of those in February. And you know, if you know this series, you would know I only review full seasons of anime unless I'm desperately in love with the series, which I'm not quite with any of them. So, no anime in February! Moving on to February manga, which I have got quite a lot of. Clearly, if I don't, you know, watch anime in 1 month, I am reading manga, and if I don't read manga, I'm watching anime. But this is what happens when you have a very time-consuming hobby. We have quite a few series going on. I need to put on my glasses, which will ruin the effect of my makeup, I know, but I wanted to try something new and look like a teary princess because this is February. I said that like I didn't have a Valentine. Anyway, we have some chunky series today. 3 quite heavy horror novels, so any trigger warnings will be on the screen. Thank you, Mia. Mia is editing this section, so I would like to thank you, Mia, in the comments down below after you like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe. Please. Please. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers before my birthday, which is in November, so you have a little bit of time. You have until November. This is a threat. No, it's not. So, for February manga, we are starting off with Shoichi in the Junji Ito collection. Now, I know this should technically be a read and review because it is a short story collection from Junji Ito, and I did say that I wanted to make these read and reviews. However, I struggled quite heavily in starting to read this and reading it into chunks. It took me a lot of mental energy to actually start reading it because Shoichi is not my favorite of Junji Ito's characters. I find him more enjoyable when watching like Junji Ito anime adaptations than I do as a character, and this is all, as the title would suggest, all Shoichi's tales. So, another collection of Junji Ito's off the list. I'm not going to do much more than numberate the collection and give you my favorite story. As I have said in the past, not a massive fan of odd characters in horror. Shoichi does tend to be the exception just because there is a good amount of gore with the wackiness and horror. I have read or watched a lot of Shoichi's tales, and majority of the ones in the book I have either watched from the collection or I have read online. So none of this was particularly exciting, especially the longer volumes, as I have read a lot of the longer stories in this book. In the actual collection itself, you have Happy Summer Vacation, Happy Winter Vacation, Shoichi's Happy Diary, Shoichi's Home Visit, Teacher of Cloth, Shoichi's Birthday, Shoichi's Petty Curses, Four-Layered Room, Coffin, and Rumors. I had already consumed, or I've already read or watched Rumors, Four-Layered Room, Shoichi's Petty Curses, Teacher of Cloth, that was a big one, Shoichi's Happy Diary, and I believe part of Shoichi's Home Visit, because you kind of have to read Shoichi's Home Visit to be passed into Teacher of Cloth. It's one of those sort of duo stories. Now, most of those I have like read. The very last one, Rumors, goes into one of the stories that has the fashion model in it, and that goes into the story where Shoichi is married to the fashion model, and spoilers, it's a big nightmare for him because he's seen the fashion model in the Rumors story. But that one, of all Shoichi's tales, is actually my favorite, mainly because it has some of the most horrific imagery I've ever seen, but that's not in this collection. I really thought it would be, but to be fair, it's in a different Junji Ito collection, so it not being here makes more sense. I just sort of wish that it made me want to go back and read those stories, because it is 2 stories. I can't remember which. Generally, of all the stories in this that I liked the most, I liked Coffin. just because it was something new that I haven't actually seen outside of the collection. Outside of that, I gave the full collection a 6 out of 10. Not bad. It was just hard to engage with due to a number of different things between goofy character and horror, plus I've read and consumed basically most of the stories in some form, plus Soichi is like a fucking 12-year-old boy. He tends to lean a little bit into like gross out humor a little bit as well, which if you've seen my Octopus Girl review, the only reason I'm keeping those books is because I paid so much for them, because I just don't like them. But to be fair, there are some Soichi stories I do like. Moving on! We have a continuation from January, this being In the Name of the Mermaid Princess. Why was this not before this? Because I struggled reading this so much, and then I have to force myself to read the next volume of In the Name of the Mermaid Princess. Now, again, something that was a struggle to get into, but definitely worth the read as compared to Soichi, where I just felt like I was struggling to read through it. Continuing through the story, July, who is this guy here, this guy's name is July, joins the gang, and the gang makes their way into the next kingdom as they have to go around Bologna to get to Aquatica. Every time I hear the name of Princess Mio's country, all I can think of is Bologna, which is I think it's a region in Italy. So every time I hear Bologna, I just think Bologna, and I go to say Bologna. Anyway, to get to Aquatica. Much like Volume 2, Volume 3 gets more interesting towards the end of the volume. I do like that July isn't a romantic interest, but rather a good friend for Mio. In stories like these, I really do like the bestie ships, where it's like these two are really good friends, they're just pals, it's fantastic, and there's not a whole lot of romantic shipping between them. And to see that in a fantasy, especially a fantasy romance, makes me very, very happy. I do want the next volume, as I have become really interested into this series, especially since I do want Mio to meet Prince Chica. However, I am left wondering to how long this series will actually be, seeing as they're sort of going through each kingdom volume by volume. Last volume was, I forgot the place name. If I could have a map, that'd be fantastic. There is a map in there. Milcuffs. This is the... It's hard to say. It is hard to say, I know. But they've got Bologna in the middle, Milcuffs. They're going Todododo. They're going through Todododo. I'm assuming the next volume they're going to go through Kurama, Ajipul, into Aquatica. But they're going through Todododo. The way I wanted to say Todoroki then. It is very run-of-the-mill, this series, and I know my continuing on of a story that I never really explained in the first place isn't fantastic for reviews, especially since I didn't think I was actually going to continue on with this series, but I had more to talk about in this volume than volumes prior, which says a lot more to me, that this is definitely getting more interesting as I read it, but I still gave this a 6 out of 10, about the same as Soichi. Moving forward, Mia's gonna love this. Sorry babes, you're gonna get a bit spoiled. But we have Otaku Vampires Love Bite, Volume 1. Now, this I picked up on a random excursion with Mia into the city. I don't remember why we went into the city. It was to do some shopping, I can't remember. We went into reading in the Emporium. I randomly spotted this and picked it up, and now Mia really wants to read it as well. So this was a spur of the moment pickup because we walked into readings and I spotted it. It is a cute light read from the creator of Kami-sama Kiss. I love Kami-sama Kiss. I mostly watched the anime, not read the manga. It is something that I do want to read in the future, but this is from the same author. I love all the characters are adults. I'm not really going to go into the actual story itself, mainly what I just like about it because I forgot to write a fucking thing of it. This is just my notes, patch notes. Okay. Of all of the otaku stories, this is really one of my favorites because I immediately connected to the character of Hina. I love that Hina just wants an otaku friend and doesn't have romantic interests just yet for Kyuta, who is this character here. She just likes hanging out with Kyuta because Kyuta looks like her anime husbander. I do like that Kyuta is falling first. I also do like that I don't know the gender of Amanatsu, who is another character in this series. Let me just get Amanatsu. Here we go. This character here is Amanatsu. So Amanatsu is a random character. I don't believe their gender is actually like said out loud. It's really ambiguous. I do like that I don't know what gender Amanatsu is, that regardless of if they like Kyuta, they are love rivals with Hina, and that Hina and Amanatsu are now friends, and it is really, really cute. I like how positive this story is, and the main part of why I said I like this as an otaku story compared to other ones is that I didn't quite connect to the characters in Watakoi, even though I really, really love that series. And the Otaku Elf series, I just could not connect with whatsoever. This is a series that I can actually connect with because it's by one of my favorite shoujo writers, so that's probably why I connected with it more. I gave this one an 8 out of 10. I thought it was really fun, I thought it was really cute, and I would like to continue the series, but whether I will actually be able to is a different question. Moving on, we have the first of the very big boys. This is Cat Eye Boy by Kazuo Umez. This is one of the perfect editions. I have both perfect editions. And compared to the last Kazuo Umez story that I read, I actually quite liked Cat Eye Boy a fair bit more. Obviously, that was Drifting Classroom. Now, if you remember, I liked Drifting Classroom Volume 1 and 2 better than I did Volume 3, and I like Cat Eye Boy to a similar amount to Volume 1 of the Drifting Classroom. Yet another story from Kazuo Umez. The Cat Eye Boy is a series of short stories interconnected by the character of the Cat Eye Boy. Wherever he goes, misfortune follows, as he is a yokai. Despite his best attempts at helping some people, humans absolutely hate him. In the first volume, I really like the chapter Tsunami Summon. In the first volume, I really like the chapter Tsunami Summoners, just because of the tragedy of the only person that is taking care of the Cat Eye Boy dying, and this causing the Cat Eye Boy to trust no other humans, despite still trying to help humans as his character. I like that his character acts as a third-party protagonist to most of these stories. He hates people, but still feels he needs to help them. Sometimes of his own ego, but sometimes because he does want to help. This was very entertaining, and some scenes are truly gruesome. There is some scenes, most of it's very sort of light-hearted, very shonen-esque. I mean, this is a shonen, kind of. But I like how most of the time it's like the most horrifying thing is him. But other points there is like just really gruesome scenes, mostly in the chapters of the Band of 1,000 Monsters. I'm just going to show this one of a skeleton, I guess, but that doesn't show exactly how horrific some of these images are. And this is one of the stories that actually kind of shows me how Junji Ito was influenced by Kazuo Umez. So that's something as well, is that the Cat Eye Boy did remind me a little bit of Shoichi. He's like kind of the opposite of Shoichi, where Shoichi is very harmless but wants to cause harm to people. The Cat Eye Boy is not very harmless but wants to prevent people from harm. And I think that's why I like this character a little bit more, even though he can be a little bit of a dickhead. He is a like small boy who's a supernatural deity who's very old but also not very old at all. I love how Umez keeps the story in the supernatural, with lots of yokai brought into the mix, and how these yokai are not friendly. And like how these yokai are not friendly, like how they are in many of the actual ghost stories that they come from. By that, I sort of mean in some stories, yokai end up being like good and bad. Most of the yokai that appear in here are evil spirits, which is what a lot of them appear to be in actual yokai stories. There are some that are good, but in fictional stories, they tend to like blend them a little bit. I like that Umez keeps them evil. So I gave this one a 7 out of 10. It wasn't my favorite, didn't love it, but I still thought it was pretty good. It was better than Soichi's Tales. Moving forward, we have something lighthearted. We have Sakura Saku Volume 5. Okay, so I didn't think, like, Volume 3, I was sort of like second guessing if I wanted to continue it. Only really continuing it because it is like my favorite shoujo author, and how I was like, do not fuck this up, like you fucked up Love Me Not. Because I gave the entire collection to my best friend because I'm like, you showed me this author, you might like this series, but the final volume pissed me off so much that I cannot keep this series. So I gave the full series to her. This one was a spur of the moment purchase because it was a collection purchase. It is the most recent volume of Sakura Saku, and I found it. I was like, I'll get it. I had like $13 of Dimmix points, so I got this for $4. Oh, steal. Anyway, sometimes these habits have a good way of working out. I surprisingly loved this volume of Sakura Saku. This volume taking place over the summer vacation with a focus on Iryu. It's this character here, Blondie. With him and Saku getting closer and ending up knowing each other in the past, with Saku needing to figure out how. Obviously, with the regular Saku and Hiroki pining going on, with Saku trying to make excuses to see Hiroki before it is Hiroki. Haruki! It's Haruki! Haruki. Why did I say Hiroki? It's every fucking time. Saku and Haruki's pining, with Saku trying to make excuses to see Haruki before the summer ends. In terms of the story and side plots, now that Kotono has been exposed as a love rival, not of Saku, but of Haruki, it honestly makes the story like 10 times better. It like, I hate the like device of two best friends being in love with the same guy. Because it just ends up being catty and like very, oh, woe is me, I'm the protagonist, you can have him, I don't deserve him, you're my best friend. No, bitch. No. I hate that device so much. But make it gay? Yes. Oh my god. It's so fucking good. Like all the times Kotono tries to show off to Haruki being like, ha! I spent more time with Saku this summer. She gave me presents. We played with fireworks. And then Haruki's just like, cool. Good for you, I guess. And Kotono just storms off. She's like, fuck you. And there's one scene that's really, really funny, where I forgot his name. It's the other male side character in Saku and Haruki's group, and he tries to stop Kotono from seeing Haruki and Saku being cute together, and she just sort of goes, I saw that. Thank you, but I saw that. That was really, really funny. It made me laugh. And it just makes it even better now that Iryu is clearly also a main rival for Hiroki. Like, these two are fighting for this girl. Like, they really love her. And then you just have whatever the fuck Kotono is doing. She's like, no, but I love her. And Saku's just delirious. She's like, oh, you like Haruki? And she's like, no, I like you. It's so fucking funny. I like the shoujos where everyone is after the main girl and not the inverse where everyone's after the main love interest. And this volume is just a bundle of drama and joy with Iryu getting closer with Saku and very clearly irking Haruki. Also, I also love that it is so clear Haruki loves Saku back and that they're both tiny little cowards that can't confess to one another. I don't know why, but it feels very refreshing. And speaking on queerness in this book, does Ryusuke's friend like him? Because, Ryusuke, if you don't know, is this guy's older brother. And he has a friend, and it's being brought up in the book that this friend keeps trying to see Ryu. I feel like it's gay, but I might just be pulling that out of my ass, because clearly this man is important to the story, or very much to Ryusuke's character, otherwise he wouldn't be brought up as much. Main theory is that it was this guy that was the one who saved Saku in the beginning, and that he's not gay for Ryusuke, but I can dream. This series has really thrown me through a loop at the best of times, so we can only wait and see till the next volume. Structure-wise, I am annoyed that instead of more chapters, we got a short. It's always annoying when that happens. It happened in My Love Mix-Up, which has returned to my desk, or to my toy shelves. It happened in... I'm pretty sure it's happened in other Yosaki Saka stories. It's happened in what other Yuri Espoir. Oh, it pissed me off when it happened in Yuri Espoir. It's happened in a lot of predominantly shoujo stories. It also happened in Orange. I wasn't a massive fan of when it happened in Orange. I thought we were getting more chapters after the end of the book, but that wasn't the case. But that Orange's one was good, because it was a good short story. This one, not necessarily. The short story mainly feels like an alternate world version of Sakura Saku, or like sort of the ultimatum of the story, with the protagonist fighting the kindness thing, but ultimately getting the guy. I wasn't a massive fan. I gave this volume a 9 out of 10 just because I love the whole Kotono thing, and I love that it's two male love interests like going after Saku. Saku clearly loves one of them more than the other, but the other's getting like closer, and then you have whatever the fuck Kotono is doing, and I love it. Oh, it's messy. I love it. It's very, very cute. So that got a 9 out of 10. That got the highest rating of the month. And we continue on to more of the Cat Eye Boy. And we have volume 2, which I think is the last volume of the Cat Eye Boy. I've seen nothing about a third volume coming out, and based on the short stories, I would assume not. Mainly because between volume 1 and 2, you had the Band of 100 Monsters, and that is the longest running story between them. I was not as much of a fan of this as I was volume 1, while I did like the conclusion of the Band of 100 Monsters, where the evil guy... Actually, I'm not going to spoil that one, because that actually surprised me, and if you do like it, I would suggest reading it. I did think the Band of 100 Monsters sort of just went on and on and on a little bit, so it wasn't my favourite story overall, but I liked it more in this volume than I did the cover story, which is the Meatball. It's got elements of gross out body horror, which I really don't like. As I said, Octopus Girl has a lot of that gross out horror, and I fucking hate it. But I did like the influence, I did like the influence for the story was semi-based in reality, where the meatballs are actually cancerous tumors, and how the Cat-Eye Boy did try to save everyone by giving up something that was important to him and curing a bunch of people, and how this one family's manifestations of this medical condition they didn't realize they had became monsters. That's another thing that's really strong in Ume's stories, is that pretty much if you fear it enough, it will into existence. It happened a lot in the drifting classroom. That is like a main theme, is that if they feared it, it came into existence. This one, it's more of a like human fear can manifest into yokai, which I think from memory is a common theme with yokai.
Nako the bathroom ghost is just a superstition. Now open your books and turn to page whatever. Now where's Sakata? I better check the girls' locker room.
The fact that it came from cancerous tumors is like interesting, at least. I just don't like the way they executed the story. It's just... yeah, I found it interesting in theory, but not necessarily in execution. The end of the story, the promise, was pretty cool, and I did like how positive the hand was at the end, with the Cat Eye Boy being a bit of an anti-hero in that story. All in all, the most of the volume was the Meatball, which I was not a massive fan of the stories in here. The reason why I haven't done a read and review for these, nor Suichi's Tales, is that they are more of like an anthology, or like they're more like linked together better than other short storybooks. So I didn't feel a need to do a read and review. Also, I was too lazy. But yeah, I gave Cat Eye Boy Volume 2 a 6 out of 10. I didn't like it as much as the first volume. It does have its perks, but it's not fantastic. But you know what is fantastic? Hitting that like and subscribe. I need to try a little bit at least. Give me that.
Anyways, my audio just cut out, so I want to tell you next month I will be reading The Gentleman's Alliance Cross, which I will be borrowing from Maya. Yep, that's it. Anyways, bye.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, what was your favorite thing I reviewed in this Weeb wrap-up? Do you have any recommendations for me? I know I've been getting a couple for Madoka Magica, but do you have any manga that you want me to read, try out? And yeah, March anime. Now, I'm gonna put a little note at the start. I did also go to see Mickey 17. I gave it an 8 out of 10. Really good, love the movie, enough said. It's not anime, but I didn't make a review video on it and I wanted to mention it. First of all, we have an anime that I watched solely because I got this figure down here. This is one of the characters at Shirokasa. So, I got this figure in a lucky bag. I got this and a couple other figures from them. I sold all the other figures because I didn't like any of them. But this one, I was like, she looks normal. The series looks okay. So I decided to watch Osamake, a rom-com where the childhood best friend won't lose. And she is one of the, like, love interests. And oh my god, thank god I found a series that is decently okay with this figure, because she is actually one of my favorite characters. So I feel okay having her as a fucking figure. I'm so happy. It has been very difficult to put my thoughts into words, as this anime I am very lukewarm to, despite the fact that I like that character and I'm happy that I can just display her as a figure without any underlying ick, you know? I was very lukewarm to the anime. And that's off of a red hot start to the anime. I will say the reason I started this anime was, again, because of the figure. It was randomly bestowed on me because of a figure mystery box, and it was the only figure that I kept because this anime and the character seemed okay. And for the most part, I was 100% correct. And I really do love Shiro. I think she deserves the absolute world, but the anime is kind of forgettable. The story surrounds Suharu Maru, a teenage boy, and him falling in love with a pretty girl, Shirokusa Kachi, the figure. Only problem, his childhood friend Kuraha Shira has already confessed to him. Suharu has his mind set on Shirokusa, but Kuraha won't back down. Now, I would stop there, but that's only the first 3 episodes. But the theme continues for the rest of the series with another character, Momo, added into the harem, with a twist that Suharu is a former child actor. Uses that to try and impress Shirokusa. Turns out Shirokusa was Suharu's childhood friend Shiro, and Haru thought Shiro was a boy. We following? Then, when he confesses to Shiro, he changes his mind and confesses to Kuro. She turns him down, and the video of this confession, this chaos, goes viral, and that turns into them turning into some kind of entertainment club where big companies want Suharu to be an actor again, but then he doesn't. Plot resolves around the gang, TM, was making a documentary about why Suharu left the industry, and an ending to the drama he was on when he was a kid. Are we following? We see how this is all a romance plot and only involves romance? Because I sure fucking didn't. After episode 3, the actual interesting plot dissolved for me quite quickly, and suddenly I felt like I was watching a run-of-the-mill rom-com harem. I will give the series its props. I did like the individual characters. Shiro ended up being my favorite, not just because I got her figure, but because I like that she switches from such a bitch to a girl who deserves just absolutely everything within the same episode, within a couple of seconds even. And her backstory was weirdly sad and made me feel for her. I thought the voice actor for Suharu was fantastically funny, and when Suharu cries, the emotion is so raw that I really felt for him, and I love it. And the plot of how Suharu's mother died was crazy. Like, she threw herself so hard at the ground, she died. She literally dropped dead. What a backstory! And most of all, I liked how Kuroha, especially in the first 3 episodes, actually feels like a teenager. The characters really feel their age and not like adults in high school or kids in high school, you know? They felt like a teenager. As well as, again, in the first few episodes, before things go downhill, Kuroha and Suharu really feel like the close friends that they supposedly are. Now are the things I don't like about the anime. I'll start off light. Kuroha being a moe-ish character, actually being referred to as a lolly by the Greek chorus of men that follow her, and her being the more mature and explicit character around Suharu, I didn't like. I did appreciate that when she is in this more serious or explicit or forceful kind of persona, her face actually changes from being a cutesy moe, like soft round features, to having sharp, more mature features in anime. I absolutely hated the big sister thing that she had with Suharu, but at least it's not a little sister complex like with Maria. Ooh, I did not like Momo. I thought it was really weird when Momo was added in episode 4, and I didn't like her as a romantic interest. I liked less when Kuroha's little sisters had a side plot where they were clearly all in love with Suharu. That man is not that interesting. At the very least, they're not actually a part of his harem, and I can understand like it being like a little kid crush, but at that point in the series, we were having a beach episode where the whole point of the episode was Haru seeing Shiro in a bikini. Not on. As the series goes on, there's just a progressive growing presence of fan service, from the character of Reina being the big boobs character that Haru drools over, to Shiro's maid Shion, love her by the way, being put in sexually suggestive positions and having unnecessary panty shots, and she's one of the main characters in this anime that gets this treatment, which really annoys me because before that I didn't really notice any panty shots of any other characters, and then you just did that to Shion. How dare you? Another big thing that lost me on this series was Suharu being a child actor, because there must have been a disconnect on my end with the translation, because they consistently say child actor, yet most of what Suharu does is sing and dance. I fully understand that like in the acting industry, point blank period, the best way to get into acting is if you can sing and dance, and I know in Japan it is slightly different from the West. But they say specifically in the anime, like this isn't even like, oh, it's different in Japan, this is the industry, blah blah. No, they specifically say that Suharu is putting on a performance/play that Shiro wrote herself. And yet, what Suharu performs is a song and dance that he had already known from his childhood. That's not an acting performance, and it's not something that Shiro wrote. Haru actually acting doesn't come up until episode 5. So something is not fucking adding up for me, and this happens a surprising amount in the series where I just got so lost, and I noted it at least 4 separate times. And when the interesting part of the series, Suharu getting revenge on his first love Shiro, goes out the door and you pull all of this shit, my interest wanes significantly. To conclude is some of my favorite notes I took when watching the anime. Episode 2. Blonde piece of bread has bread motives. Maru's mother dying because she threw herself to the ground is crazy. Actually sad. Episode 3. This is episode 3. Bro, what is the rest of this anime? Episode 10. The maid speaks. I love her. I love that she's an idiot. Osamake, if it had just been episodes 1 through 3, I would have given it a solid 8 out of 10. It's enjoyable, it's funny, but the whole series, I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. I did find moments to laugh and ask what the fuck incredulously, so bonus points for that, but it was really just a letdown. So, yeah. Now moving on to my second anime of March. My second anime of March, and continuing the thread of watching something because I'd already bought merch. I'd actually been planning to watch this next anime for a while, this being Cherry Magic 30 Years of Virginity Can Make You a Wizard. The name just stood the fuck out, and I love cute anime with a goofy gimmick. Now, we all know my feelings with Slice of Life, and off the bat, this is BL. It's very basic in terms of the talking points of BL. Guy finds out other guy is in love with him, has a personal battle because why? They end up dating, protagonist gets iffy because of society. They go back to being cute, and then some big act of love or a fight or something, and then boom, they fuck and all is good in the world. Again, I had been wanting to watch this since last year when I found out about it, but you all know my gripes with Crunchyroll. Now, as I said, it is the stock standard formula, but it works. So, I really love this series. Surprisingly, it really kept me engaged up until the last like 3-ish episode, but to be fair, that is when I started sewing for my Supernova cosplay, so my attention wasn't entirely on the show. It was just consistently good, and to be fair, I did also like Moso Telepathy, which would essentially be the straight version of this concept. And it did just spur into my head questions of if 30-year-olds counted as old man yaoi, because in essence it kind of felt like it, but they also felt too young for that. The conclusion was a little bit split, but not my thoughts on the show. It's cute, it's queer, I love the concept, and I appreciate all of the characters are adults. I do also like the second couple, Minato and Suge. At first, I was very iffy because Minato's age isn't specified until late in the series, but he's 23, so he's my age. With my thirsting over 30-year-old characters and people, this feels valid. Main couple is so adorable, and I love how Kurosawa is a very boyish in how much he loves Adachi. Very like, golden retriever kind of vibes. It is a really super cute anime and I really loved it. I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. That is all of my March anime. That is all of my March anime. Now we move on to March manga. I have a theme, with the exception of this, for today. Now I have one book that I have already sold that I was not particularly happy about, that I will talk about first. This being Zom 100 Volume 1. Yeah, I'm kind of glad I got this volume in a bundle and did not pay full price because I was not a fan. It just wasn't interesting conceptually to me. Like, that might just be because of the amount of zombie manga that I've read and how they're all just very similar. Weirdly enough, the art style reminded me of Magical Girl Apocalypse and I really could not shake it. I did like a couple of panels, but this feels like a very zombie version of Comic Can't Communicate, where the goal is set and events just randomly happen around that list consequentially. Not on purpose. Generally, I found it boring. I found myself feeling like I was reading an amalgamation of all the apocalypse manga I've ever read, and for a series that mentions zombie slop at least twice, it ends up falling directly into that style of book. Oh, and I didn't like how the manga sexualizes its female characters. Even background zombie characters were always in some stage of undress around the boobs. So I gave Zom 100 a 3 out of 10. I will not be continuing the series. Moving on to a series I will be continuing and love to death. The Guy She Likes wasn't a guy at all. Now, I don't love the official translated name because I started reading this with the fan translation name. Obviously The Guy She Liked wasn't a guy at all. It just rolls off the tongue easier than The Guy She Was Interested In wasn't a guy at all. Like, why did you add more syllables to a really long sentence? What's the point? So forever I will be calling this The Guy She Liked Wasn't a Guy at All. Now, while this volume didn't quite have the drama of volume 1, I cannot wait for the next volume. I love how it's a lot of Aya pining and how Aya's friends now also include Mitsuki into their friend group. In terms of character development, while for the last volume I thought Joe was a little bit annoying because he'd sort of just impede on Aya and Mitsuki like story time. Now we know more of his lore and his history, especially through the new character, ex-girlfriend of Joe, auntie of Mitsuki, Kana, who I am in love with. I'm generally enjoying his character way more. Aesthetically, I'm loving some of the like bubbly star effects that are on some of the pages. Very Y2K aesthetics that appear when Aya and her friends are talking versus the more grungy sort of prickly effects that appear when Mitsuki is talking. Love it. I'm obsessed. 8 out of 10. Also, I wasn't expecting to get this so soon. Then I went out sort of like on a girls' day with one of my friends and we managed to find it in Critical Hit. Saviors of the Lesbians Critical Hit, because I went out looking actually for the 3rd Japanese volume and found the 2nd English volume. And if you're wondering why I thought I wouldn't be able to get this for several months, it's because for what I know, no stores outside of Kinokuniya in Sydney and Critical Hit in Melbourne sells this goddamn manga. No Demics, no QBDs, only 2 very niche stores. It's not as easily as accessible as I would like it to be, and I can't afford to get it shipped from Sydney, so I am eternally grateful for Critical Hit. Moving forward, so there is a content warning for this book, being My Dress Up Darling Volume 1, that being for explicit content and just generally lewd content. To say I am conflicted is an understatement. Off the bat, I'll say I dislike the sexualizing of Kitagawa. It's the thing that I like the least, especially seeing as she is 15. However, that is something I knew would end up happening. I could tolerate it when it was Karin being hard-headed about wanting to do cosplay, but there are shots where I felt it was just so unbelievably unnecessary. The only thing that I could think of in those moments are just like, I'm glad the two characters are the same age. Now, the confliction. I like how the story portrays Karin as an otaku. And by that I mean how she's a teenager who's cosplaying from something wildly inappropriate for her age. Now, why do I like that aspect of the story? And that's because it is very accurate to how many cosplayers, many anime fans, and many people act when they are teenagers. If you need a real world example, just look at the Has-Been Hotel fandom. I say this from experience, but it's very common in the age of the internet. Even in fandoms before, for kids and teens to gain access to content they are not supposed to be seeing. How else would I have read Killing Stalking at 16 years old? And that wasn't even talking about the doujinshis I read at 14. Is it right? No. But I appreciate that the author actually acknowledges that Karin is playing something super inappropriate and has probably played other games like it. And that the adults around the two main characters are like, what the fuck? Because that is fucking relatable to me now. I like the subject of otaku culture in the manga, and the thing that's keeping me vaguely interested is that both Karin and Gojo's, because the main character's name is Gojo, Karin and Gojo's first instance with making cosplay and going to conventions. I do also appreciate that the mangaka has done a fair amount of research into cosplay, even if the book puts it in a more sexualized manner. Long story short, I like the concept, I do not like the execution. 5 out of 10, I can't say I wasn't engaged. Then moving forward to a series that I absolutely fucking adore, Neighborhood Story Volume 4, the final volume. Very glad I stopped Paradise Kissed when I realized it was a sequel to this series, because oh my god, I love the ending, and I love how it wraps into a little bow, and I love that Mikako actually goes to London. And I love how at the end of the series, it really captures how being 17 to 18 is a really difficult time in your life, as you have to adjust from being a child to adulthood, and how violent and confusing that is of a jump from the structure that you have lived in your entire life to that point, and how that affects you, your peers, your loved ones, especially with what direction you want to take your life and your career versus your love life. I really love how Tsutomu came to the realization of what he wanted to do, and eventually how he got off his annoying shit. Character-wise, love that Mikako goes to London. Love that Mikako goes to London. That Kisaragi is gay. Gay man. Love that. My favorite panel is from Pichan again, being in love with Kisaragi. And I really love the futures that came for these characters. That the reason for Risa to not go to London is because that she's pregnant. Makes so much sense. Especially for her character, and the fact that her adult self is still punk as fuck. Love her. I do also like that Mirako, Boriko, didn't end up with Yusuke. As much as I did like them, their relationship was way too toxic. And I love that Miss Yazawa acknowledges that Ayumi's love for Yusuke is weird. The ending / epilogue I really loved, and how it eventually will lead into Paradise Kiss. There's not much other than word vomit that I can say to show my love for this volume and the series. I gave this one an 8 out of 10. And that is all for my March manga. So let's move forward into
April anime. Now, I will make one note. Rose of Versailles is not here, solely because I watched it April 30th. I watched one anime in April, that being This Boy Can Fight Aliens. I give this a 5 out of 10. This has been something that's been on my list for a very long time. And there is another one that I have yet to watch, which is This Boy Caught a Mermaid. I will be watching that next month. But this has been something that's been on my list for a very long time. I believe it's an OVA. It's about a 30-minute watch. I gave it a 5 out of 10, not really for anything super bad. I like that it is implicit and more of an inferred BL, more about family dynamics and friends, and is more a metaphor for getting someone out of an internal mental struggle than actually, like, you know, physically fighting aliens. I also really liked the art style of this anime. That's why this has been on my list for so long. Generally the story was just kind of okay, and I do like how it explained Hotoko not getting messages being because his phone bill hadn't been paid for 4 months. So yeah. Moving forward into April manga, I have quite the collection. As you can see, there's a fuck ton here. We have one from the mega manga bundle that I am actively trying to get rid of because, well, let's talk about it. This is Karate Survivor in Another World. I gave this a 3 out of 10. This is an isekai action adventure. Bro is dropped in a video game fantasy world and fights his way to the top of the food chain. The low score isn't necessarily because it's like the worst thing in the world. It's just not for me. And I realized that I'm way too nice in my grading of certain manga, so I just gave it a 3 because it's just not for me. I thought it's a pretty okay story in comparison to some of the worser series that I've watched and read. It's just incredibly stock standard. This feels like it is a base for an isekai, and the most interesting part is that the main character is clearly a goblin but doesn't see himself physically as a goblin. I'm not going to continue, and I'm going to end up selling this. It's the first volume, so the interest in the storyline isn't really there yet for me, and it's not a series that I can see myself continuing. Now, speaking of a series that I am actually continuing and have been continuing for a while, we have One Dance. Now, I have the next 3 volumes. I do want to collect volumes 6, 7, 8, and 9 because I know volume 10 is coming out soon. But it took me a long time to start reading these. One Dance volume 3. I've been sitting on this series for a little while. It took me so long to get this volume and even longer to read it. I really love this volume. Our main characters finally go to a competition, and while the group wins and Wanda gets a individual award, Kabo wants more, something different, and the idea of dance battles instead of just competitions comes to mind, with the group doing an internal dance battle. I still love the music suggested in the manga and how it just makes the story feel alive, as well as I love how different dance styles are drawn between different characters, with Kabo's design being more wavy and more of like a shale brush style, but still being messy, with Onchan's being very clean, pointed, and layered to show off the amount of movement that's going on, because her dance style is popping, while Kabo's is hip-hop. And then you have Iori, his house, and it's like sort of in between both of them, and I really like that. I gave this volume a 7 out of 10. Then we have volume 4, Battles Breaking and a New Character. Okay, sometimes the music does not work and does not match the vibe of the book and scene, though considering that they are at a tournament battle thing at the moment, it does make sense they don't get to pick the music. But we get a new character in this volume, Kabuya, who looks suspiciously like Wanda, and I did think that they were related, but that doesn't seem to be the case. We see Kabo explore new environments and styles with his dance, and we also see Wanda, Kabo, On, and Iori enter their first battles as soloists, with the next round coming in the next volume. This one also got a 7 out of 10. Now, volume 5 of One Dance. This here is Kaguya. This is the new character, and I do really think he looks like Wanda. He looks like Wanda with a haircut, to be quite honest. When I got this, I actually thought it was Wanda, but I guess I'm wrong. So, volume 5. Loving, possessive, not boyfriend, Kabo. Wanda is still super cute. I like how she's being drawn now compared to in earlier volume. The way Wanda's eyes are drawn with her dance with Usen is so cool. I want to see Wanda drawn like that, honestly, more in the series. And while I appreciate it, I would really, really have loved to seen more of Kabo and Iori's battles. Look how small this book is. Like, compare it to literally just the volume before. It is so short. You could have put some of Iori's dances in here, or some of Kabo's. I get for suspense, we're not supposed to. But, like, I would have loved to see more of him dancing. This volume mainly focuses on the battles of Wanda, On, and Iori, and mainly how they are battling Usen, with Iori coming out on top. As I said, I want to see more of Kabo's battles, but I did like it enough, and I liked it more than the previous volumes. I gave this one an 8 out of 10. I really want to get volume 6. Moving forward, I spoke about the Rose of Versailles earlier. Because the new Rose of Versailles movie was coming out on Netflix, I decided to finally read volume 5 of the Rose of Versailles, which is all short stories. This surrounding Oscar's niece. Her name's Lulu. It follows her niece Lulu. Obviously Oscar is still in it, but it's more just side quests with Lulu as one of the main characters. I liked it enough. It was very enjoyable. 7 out of 10, but it's not the main story, so we don't care. I just wanted to watch it just in case Lulu was in it. But yeah. Moving forward, Moon and Sun, Pure Gay Smart, 4 out of 10. And finally, we are moving on. We've got like 3 more volumes by Rumiko Takahashi. Now, I've known about this series for a while. I've had this volume for a while, and I read the first volume on the Viz app and the third volume on the Viz app because I have volumes 2, 4, and 5. Why I haven't yet got volume 1 or 3 yet, I don't know. But I will be continuing to collect this series because I'm liking it a lot thus far. So we're going to start with volume 1. I gave it a 7 out of 10. Similar to Inuyasha, but has its own concepts. Calling it now, the deity the protagonist saw in her past is an event in her future. I was initially perturbed by the art style, but it evened out as the story went on. It's humorous and the main character is more, I want to say, hard-headed than Kagome in Inuyasha, whereas Mao, the namesake character, he's more, I guess, like, knowledgeable than Inuyasha. So it is very, very similar, don't get me wrong, but they're very much their own characters. And that thing I mentioned about what the protagonist saw in her past is her future, we will get into that. Volume 2. We are in book 2. Book 2. And it looks like we are getting all of the answers. What the fuck is going to happen to throw a spanner into the works of this series, since we are getting, you know, the explanation of like what happened to our main protagonist in the first volume, you know, because it happens in the second volume. And I was right. The deity she saw in her childhood was Mao, and it was like what's it called, a morphed version of Mao. So what is going to happen for the rest of this fucking series? Because I already know it's like well over, I think, 10 volumes at this point. I think it's into like 18, 20 volumes. I gave this book an 8 out of 10. And now on to volume 3, because that's all I've read up to thus far. I see how it is. Give us the conclusion to our protagonist with a looming threat. But now, send us on another chase. Bastards. 6 out of 10. This is just the Rumiko Takahashi method. I am very, very invested in this series. I've got 2 more volumes to read that I physically have. but I think I will be definitely collecting the series. I do like it a lot. And that is all of my anime and manga for March and April. Now, as I said, you would have already seen my Rose of Versailles review at this point because I will be filming it in like 2 days. But yeah, I haven't watched it just yet, so technically it doesn't count for this video. So, I hope you guys enjoyed. Now, to start with May anime, nothing. I was on such a good run in the last 2 months. Nothing. But we do have a fair amount of manga. Well, a fair amount as in I read a lot of volumes. And I do mean a lot of volumes. All of them just fell down. This is all of the manga that I read, and you may notice something is that a lot of them is from the one particular series. So we're going to talk about this one first. This is Rainbows After the Storm. Now, if you've seen one of my previous Weeb wrap-ups where I talked about the two of them are pretty much just like this is a very similar story. The main difference is that the two protagonists are in high school, not in college. They are best friends, and they are in a romantic relationship that they do not want to share with their friends. So, this is really cute. It does give me similar vibes to the two of them are pretty much like this. That's why it's sort of like this is a very similar series. I ended up giving this one a 7 out of 10. I thought it was really cute. I liked it a lot. This is probably a series I'm going to continue. I kept seeing it on shelves and being like, I need it. It's gay. I need it. And I ended up getting it. So I'm happy with it. I really love it. And I'm going to continue reading it. Now moving on to this abomination of a series. Midnight Secretary. Now, why is number 1 over here? This is the actual color coordination. Don't be fooled by the fact that this is rainbow. This is a very straight series, but you would be fooled. Indeed. So this is a full series review of Midnight Secretary, and I haven't actually done this for a while. I was originally going to do this as a read and review, however, with the only other series that I have like consumed in May, I would have only had Rainbow After the Storms, so Midnight Secretary, haven't done this in a while. Now, don't be fooled by the very colourful spines of the covers. Midnight Secretary is a straight office vampire romance, and I spent a total of 2 days reading the entire series. I ended up buying volumes 1 through 4 because originally I had volumes 5 through 7 because I bought this back in the dark ages where I actually trusted Booktopia before they fucked me over. So I got these like really cheap, and I was like, I'm so tired of collecting series that I just never finished, and when I found out this was the final volume, I'm like, fuck it, let's buy the first 4 volumes. This will be a mega review of all volumes and the full story, not volume by volume like I've done with Wand Dance or I've done with Mao, not that sort of stuff at the moment. For the most part, the beginning of the story had me twiddling my toes, kicking my feet, and giggling. I fully went in not knowing this was a vampire romance, and I feel like with the name Midnight Secretary, that should have been more obvious to me. But no, I'm just that dense. It's got a dark romance, early 2000s shoujo, yaoi hands epidemic, trashy vampire romance kind of vibe, and I was living for that. I loved that. The base plot revolves around our protagonist Kaya, who recently became a secretary of the big boss, executive director Kyohei. A man who not only works in the late afternoon to evening, has an aversion to direct sunlight, and a total playboy with multiple lovers. That Kaya accidentally walks in to find that he steals blood from. That Kaya accidentally walks in to find. Whoops, Kyohei is actually a vampire. And the reason he has multiple lovers isn't for sex, isn't for joy, but is for food. Just so happens that a human's blood tastes the best when you're nearing climax, and is apparently its most fragrant. That phrase sticks to this book like a bad smell. And due to a series of events, Kyohei gets put into a position where he needs to feed on Kaya. and the drama commences. When Kyohei becomes obsessed with only drinking from Kaya, because despite being a lower class woman, rude, and his secretary, her blood tastes the best. A delicacy. That is literally what she calls herself. The first half of the series definitely has more of the better plot points and weight to it. Volume 2 has the development of the obsessed vampire not boyfriend with all the juicy romance. Volume 3 has some like Twilighty vibes because it's one of those plots with a lot of love interests. Because it's one of those plots where the love interest like leaves for a long period of time and then coming back later, a bit like I think it's actually the first Twilight film that does that. I don't know. I just remember fucking Edward being away for a long time, and that just reminded me of that in here, which started pissing me off when it led into volume 4. At some point, Kaya says the thing that she is the midnight secretary, which at some point becomes code for girlfriend, but you're not my girlfriend, but you're my thing. Hated that. Really quite disappointed.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
Kaya in volume 4 then gets a second love interest, Takatsu, the executive director of a subsidiary of the company that she works at. However, Kyohei also gets a secondary love interest / not love interest weird relationship in Marika. And I found in romance, I like it when the love interest has to fight for the protagonist, but the second that the protagonist has to fight for the love interest with someone else, I fucking hate it. I hated it in, I think it was Love Me, Love Me Not. I hated it in this. There is another series I hated it in, and it was in another shoujo novel. Hate that trope. Hate it. Especially if it's later in the story to cause drama. Not that either relationship really goes anywhere, which is sad because I really would have loved to see more Takatsu content, because Takatsu deserves the world. He's like, I kind of love him, because he was just planning his future with Kaya, and she was just like, I really want to go back to my abusive vampire boyfriend boss. Thank you. Volumes 4 to 5 is where shit really gets annoying, as it's very, very repetitive, with Kaya denying her own feelings and saying that she is just his secretary. When at this point, we are far beyond that point. At this point, it is devolving into a borderline emotionally abusive relationship because neither of them can actually confront their own fucking feelings. And Kyohei can be a man-child, but his character does soften a little bit in demeanor when he does actually confront his feelings in volumes 6 and 7. The last 2 volumes surrounds the forbidden aspect of them being in love because Kyohei is a vampire and is in this clan that really hates Kaya because she is a human. And in one chapter, you have them saying Kyohei and Kaya can never have a family, they can never get married, and Kaya is, quote, coming to terms with that. And then when I was reading volume 6, the way I fucking turned the page and then saw the chapter title, Having a Baby, out of pure spite, I wanted them to have a shotgun wedding and have the child and get this series over and done with, because at this point it was dragging at this point. I already said that. Luckily for me, that did end up happening. I'm so smart and so lucky. Luckily for me, that did end up happening in a roundabout way, with many of a stumble and a trip. I am whelmed with the ending. It stumbles and trips a lot, but I'm okay with it. Vaguely satisfied. I would have liked more romantic scenes than tense ones. I would have liked Kyohei to round out to being a softer, sensitive boyfriend a lot earlier. I would have liked Marika to not be a bitch. If I had to summarize this series, it would easily be called Vampire Situationship. And I hate that word because what the fuck is that? I liked the beginning because it was trashy vampire office romance, but the way the story just dragged really had me frustrated. There are things that I wish got dragged out more, like Takasu being a viable love interest for Kaya and not just being, you know, vaguely there for one volume. How Kaya could potentially actually see herself with Takasu instead of Kyohei, and how that threatens Kyohei, and not the opposite in which that happened with Kaya and Marika. I hate that so much. Marika being I would have also loved, speaking of Marika, I would have loved seeing Marika being a toxic lesbian instead of her eventually getting a straight love interest, because she absolutely had mean lesbian vibes. And Kyohei being, as I said, less of an asshole for more of the series, because in essence, I can understand the behavioral, in essence, I can understand the behavioral choices for the series, for the story, for the plot. But that doesn't mean I actually liked them. And I feel like that is something more people should think about regarding fiction, because I see a lot of people just like excusing behaviors in fiction, being like, well, this is the only way this character would have reacted in the story, in the moment. This is the only way that the character would have reacted. It made sense to the character. Cool. I didn't like it still. I could still not like it. I understand Kyohei's a dick because he's a vampire. Still don't like it. Would have loved for him to be, you know, soft, loving, caring, a little bit fucking earlier. I gave this entire series a 6 out of 10 because I can't say that for a decent chunk I wasn't entertained. I liked the first 2 volumes more than I hated them, but my joy waned further in the series that I did progress. So 6 out of 10 for Midnight Secretary. I do like the decorum, so it is going to sit on that shelf. But that is all actually for my May manga. And now we move into June manga. Now, I have a lot of anime in June. I feel like I can make up for the awful Yori cosplay in my gay manga and what's it called? March? Weeb wrap up? In one of the Weeb wrap ups, but specifically my gay manga, because this is Mitsuki from the guy she was interested in wasn't a guy at all. I'm not sure how I feel about the eyelashes, but I think they're actually protecting me from the wig hair. Now, we're starting with June manga solely because I read one series and it's one of my 3 Lifeline Yuris. Now, when I'm reviewing one of my Lifeline Yuris, I must cosplay one of my Lifeline Yuris, and now that I actually have a good wig, I might be able to cosplay Kanon, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to, much like my, what was it called? Midnight Secretary review, have to review all 4 of these together. Oh, sorry, all 3 of these together. Volume 4 is there. Solely because I thought I wrote separate reviews and then I didn't. I wrote about a sentence for each. So, because I didn't write separate reviews, I will be reviewing volumes 4, 5, and 6 of The Moon on a Rainy Night all together. Now, I do plan to get more volumes of it, just like how I still plan to get volume 9 of Whisper Me a Love Song, and like how I plan to get volume 3 of The Guy She Liked Wasn't a Guy at All. It's a lot. The Moon on a Rainy Night, volumes 4 to 6. Now, in volume 4, there is one new character introduced, Tomita. And initially, we hate her until her just sudden character development in volume 6. She becomes deaf in one ear, and while I'm glad her villainy suddenly gets cut, because this character was planning or was trying to fuck with Kanon and trying to be a bitch to Kanon. I like that her villainy very suddenly gets cut within the span of 3 volumes. I'm glad her villainy suddenly gets cut within 3 volumes. And how she as a character is mainly there to demonstrate to Saki and to other characters how much Kanon has changed as a character because of Saki's help. The overarching, like, plot going on between volumes 4 to 6 is the school festival with Kanon and Saki conducting and playing the piano for the class choir. So I believe this starts in volume 4, continues through to volume 5, and then in volume 6 they are on summer break, which is why there's a bunch of fireworks and they're wearing yukata, all that sort of stuff. Love that. With there being more like specific character growth in volume 4, a small build of like a little bit of gay in volume 5, where there's barely any in volume 4, and in volume 6 is where the real gay shit starts happening. With Kanon beginning to look a little more outside herself and her own feelings, she wonders what Saki feels, which leads her to the stereotypical summer festival, which leads to the end of summer and that's the wrong volume, which leads to the end of summer and Saki and Kanon celebrating at the summer festival. Now, Kanon would have a little bit of a tough time at a summer festival understanding and talking to Saki. Saki and Kanon celebrate the summer festival at Saki's house as not to overwhelm Kanon. And during the fireworks, instead of the like stereotypical romance kiss like you would have seen in With Me a Love Song, this volume I was totally baited into thinking that happened. But no, Saki's just mouthing something to Kanon, but Kanon suddenly starts to have some really odd feelings about Saki. Took her fucking long enough, 6 volumes, and we get this one inkling, this tiny little seed that Kanon might have feelings for Saki, but she just doesn't know it yet. Love that. This one-sided Yuri has now, in a way, become requited. I cannot wait for the next volume. Personally, in terms of actual rankings for each volume, I know this is a bit of a muddled review, but you will see my anime reviews. I gave volume 4 a 7 out of 10, same with volume 5, and I gave volume 6 an 8 because I just want to read more. I just want to read more. Now, we move into June anime. I know May anime was but a disappointment, but June I was given the task by Mia to watch Higurashi. So, I watched Higurashi and Higurashi Kai solely so I can understand Umineko. I know it's a bit much, but I spent about a week and a half watching the entire Higurashi series. I know there is a new Higurashi on Crunchyroll which I might watch now that I've finished Higurashi, but I did record my Higurashi reviews separately, so I will let you watch those and then we can come back for the rest of June anime. Are you gonna be a good girl? That's so the scissors. No, you can't eat the beads, nor can you eat Higurashi. Are you gonna sit? Are you sat? And shall you listen? She is sad, so you shall be as well. So, Higurashi season 1. I'm doing a little special video where I review things my friends have recommended it to me. However, the one thing that Mia wants to recommend to me is Umineko. Apparently, you need to have watched Higurashi to understand Umineko. I don't I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm very scared to watch Umineko, or not watch. She does not want me to watch Umineko. She wants me to either read or play the game for Umineko, but I hadn't watched Higurashi before. That's not to say that I haven't watched scenes before, because with Higurashi, it was surprisingly in a lot of old like YouTube anime cracks. When certain moments popped up on screen, I felt like I had been awakened like a sleeper agent. Because I was like, I recognize that scene. Most of them were regarding Mion. Don't show your butthole on camera for free. I did not raise you like this. A lot of those moments involved Mion, which, like, I kind of love Mion. Mion's like one of my favorite characters. I think she's really fun. But a couple also involved Reina, and specifically there is one scene in the first episode of the final arc in which she says that, I think it's Rika, she says Rika is really cute. And that audio clip, to explain in like old anime cracks, to transition between each like skit or video clip, they would usually use like a cute girl sound. One often used was "do-do-do," which was from Steins Gate, and it's something that I keep stimming for like from years after I've watched these. I've never watched Steins Gate. It is a series that I do need to watch, just like I was with Higurashi. But this one clip of Reina saying that Rika was cute was used as a transition sound, and when I heard it in the exact tone, I just went, I was like shook, and I told that to Mia. So this is the entire first season. I have the physical one because this is Mia's copy, because I couldn't find this anywhere. I couldn't find it online. I could only find the new Higurashi, which I will watch after watching the second season of Higurashi. Old Higurashi, couldn't find this anywhere, could find this everywhere, haven't watched this yet. We're not talking about her, we're talking about her. I really liked this. It gave me vibes of Shinsakayori, which we will talk about in a second, because my gripes with Shinsakayori, I have this similar gripes with this. And before you listen to anything, Shinsakayori is one of my favorite anime. There is just one big thing that I don't like about it, and she's gone. She also hates it. You're sitting on scissors! There's one big thing about Shinsakayori which I hate, and it makes me not be able to recommend that series to anyone, because it's like, no, you shouldn't have to sit through that. I shouldn't have had to sit through that. But I was stubborn, so I watched the rest of the fucking anime and actually ended up enjoying it. That's the same with this. There is certain parts that make me go, why am I watching this? What is this? I don't like this. But the rest of the series, the mystery of this series, I really like, and it's really interesting. It is MA15+. This is a horror series. It is gore. It is psychological horror. There is supernatural horror as well. But in essence, without spoiling too much, there's like a death time loop going on in this series. And even that is a major fucking spoiler. With this, there is this town of Hinamizawa, and this boy Keiichi transfers to Hinamizawa. He becomes friends with this group of girls, Reina, Mina, Rika, and Satoko. Of note, Rina and Satoko are like 10 years old. Because they're in such a small like country town, they are like all put together in one classroom. I think the oldest character is Mion, and then Reina and Keiichi are the same age, and then Rika and Satoko are much younger than them. They're like around 10 years old. So there are odd goings on in this series. Small town in the country, that type of shit. They have this festival called the Cotton Drifting Festival, which is this sort of religious festival they have around a local like god, deity thing. What happens is every year on this festival, one person dies, one person goes missing. In the world of Higurashi in this rendition of Higurashi, because this takes place in 1983 for some reason. In this rendition of Higurashi, the two people that die, one is a photographer, one is a, like, fucking creative writer. I don't know. I don't know what she was. Her, like, story kind of changed every single time there was a loop. And the reason I'm so comfortable in saying there was a loop is because the first arc is one loop, the second arc is a different loop, the third arc is a different loop, but then, like, the fourth one is the second one from a different character's perspective, and then the last one is also a different fucking loop. The first half of the series only gives you questions. And you're left going, what the fuck am I watching? The second half starts to give you a little bit of confirmation. There's this one arc that's only 2 episodes, and it pretty much gives you answers for one of the previous arcs. The arc that is like the second arc from a different character's perspective gives you answers on the second arc, and the final arc actually gives you answers from the first arc. So it's a little bit confusing, but now you know why it's really hard to, like, review this series. What I liked about this, I liked the mystery, the gore, the, like, I guess shock factor of Higurashi. It's very, very interesting and very intriguing. I watched the entire series within a week, and I beaded all the way through Higurashi. All of these are little projects I did when beading for Smash, and that's not the only thing. By this time, Mia will have received her birthday present, but I also was making Mia's birthday present during Higurashi, and this was half of the season's worth because I was trying to figure out how to beat a fish, and then this was the rest of that half of the season's worth. So I was beating all the way through Higurashi. And I say that because I did blank out on a couple of points, but I have the general consensus. As I said, someone dies, someone goes missing, and it starts all this shit pretty much happening in the town from these kids' perspectives. In one arc, Keiichi murders Mion and Reina. In another arc, Mion is half demon and tries to kill pretty much everyone. In another arc, Satoko's brother Satoshi, who is for majority of the series an off-screen character until like the 5th arc. The 3rd arc is all about Satoko, her family, and it ends with pretty much the entire town dying, but only Keiichi surviving. And then 6th arc is essentially the before and after of the of the previous arc. 5th arc is recapping arc 2, but from a different character's perspective, a character that I won't say because I don't want to spoil it. As I said, last arc recaps the 1st arc. So much goes on, and I'm still confused about some things, but apparently that gets answered in a big plot twist in this this series, this half. Now, what did I not like about Higurashi? There are some things I do like and some things I don't like. I like, and this is a spoiler, this character. First of all, this is one of the 10-year-olds. She is this kind of deity thing, or is at least a mouthpiece for the deity in the series. I like that when she's speaking as a mouthpiece, she has a very adult voice. When she's a kid, she has a very kid voice. I like the way that the characters change when they're going fucking crazy. What I don't like is that how the female characters are sexualized. So you know how I said 2 characters are 10 years old and they're all in school and have a school room that they're all underage. At most, I think Mion is like 16, 17-ish. I would give a guess that Mion is probably 16 at the oldest, and that means like that Keiichi is probably 15, same with Reina, but Rika and Satoko are like 10. I don't appreciate that Satoko has like semi-developed boobs and that it is highlighted at points. I don't like that Mion, whenever she's in like a little slip dress, her boobs are like very evident. And I don't like, you can see with Rika, she's wearing a slip dress on the cover. This is probably the most covered she's like looked in a slip dress. Because anytime she's drawn in a slip dress, it's like partially falling off her shoulder, or it's like a little bit too big on her, and it's weird. I don't like that, and it makes me feel yucky. Don't like it. So I'm gonna give Higurashi When They Cry, I'm going to give it a 7 because I do really like the plot. I do really like the concept of the series, the mystery of the series. I like horror, I like psychological horror, I like body horror. There's a lot of that. Do not like the element where it's sexualizing its minor characters. So that's why it gets a 7. I probably would give it an 8, but that just sticks into my head so badly. This gets a 7. Not a massive fan of the sexualizing aspect, but we'll see what happens with Higurashi Kai, because I think that'll be the last of the anime for June. So I know in the last section I said I'd try and limit spoilers. There will be spoilers in this section, so if you want to skip it, here's the timestamp. Okay, continuing. Okay, so second season, Higurashi Kai. I was so ready for this series to be done halfway through, and I'm not saying that because I didn't like it. I'm saying that because I loved it. First things first, I just stated in the Higurashi before that there was like a part, in the art style, it felt like they were doing a bit too much. As in they were like sexualizing minors. They stopped that shit in season 2. Thank fuck. So, I can now get over that and talk about the rest of the story. So, this is the sort of like answers to all the questions. Whereas like the first arc, put it this way, there is actually like a visual novel for Higurashi. I will not be playing it. I've heard that is a lot. So, we're not going to be playing Higurashi, but first half, from everything that Mia's told me as well, first half is always the questions, second half is always the answers. This is the answers, and one of the things is that the season kind of fakes us out on who the protagonist is until this half. The protagonist of Higurashi is Rika. Rika is the main character. And with Rika being the main character, you may be wondering, well, why is Keiichi the main character for X, Y, and Z? And then you've got Shion and Mion and all that sort of stuff. And then you've also got Rena. She's also a main character. Actually, we were seeing the story from, I guess, the perspective of Hanyu. Hanyu is technically the goddess. She's like the goddess of the shrine that Rika is a priestess of. And so technically she's like the goddess of Hinamizawa. But she's not the one cursing everyone, and that's what we find out in the answers. The answers are the whole time loop thing is 100% correct. And that's because Hanyu and Rika reset time every time Rika dies so that they can try and avoid the tragedy of Hinamizawa. But they don't know what the fuck's happening, how it keeps happening, that sort of stuff, or how to fix it. Until the, I want to say, first main arc of Series 2. Pretty much, yes. The second main arc of Series 2, which is the first, like, big core section of this. The part where I really thought the series was going to end and then it didn't, because I was like, excuse me, what do you mean this hasn't ended yet? Pretty much, the big main arc of the first half of the series is Rika going through a time loop and things are different. People, the main cast is remembering stuff and things are different, and Rika nearly survives because she gets killed every time there is a cotton drifting festival. She, at the very start of the season, has no hope that it will free her from her fate, and that's a big thing in this season, fate. But then in the second main arc of the first part, this is when things keep changing and Rika suddenly has hope again, and she nearly survives. A lot of things change. She has hope in her friends, that sort of stuff. And at that point in the series, I was so ready for it to end and be like, yes bitch, get out of this time loop, we can do this together, this is amazing. And then she died. I also then looked at the episode list and realized there was 10 episodes left. So let me just say, I never liked Takono. I thought she was always weird. And to find out she's behind everything. Now, I dislike that they made me feel sorry for her at the end of the series. Dislike that, because I really just want to hate someone. But Takono being the reason everything is happening makes so much sense, and makes sense as to why she and I think it's Tomitake, who is so America Hitalia coded, by the way, those two die every time, because she doesn't. She just kills him. Fantastic. Love that. Anyway, in the second half, pretty much the final arc of Higurashi is the one where Rika survives and she gets to live her life, and that's love it. Now, did I dislike the fact that it went from this total supernatural horror to it being government bad again? Not necessarily, actually. Usually, I hate that so much because it's always some government conspiracy and it's always this, that, and the third. This time I actually really liked it because you still had the supernatural fucking element. You still had the time loops, you still had this, that, and the third. It's not just one big government conspiracy. I honestly liked this a lot more than the first season, and I liked the first season a fair amount. I'm gonna give this one probably an 8. 8.5. 8.5. I think it gets an 8.5 out of 10 solely because I smashed out 13 episodes in one day. I have not done that in a while. And then it took me about, I would say 3 days. 3 days to watch the entire season, whereas it took me a week to watch the first season. And that's just because of how much more engaged I was in this season than I was the previous one. Sure, I liked the gore aspect of the previous season and how many questions are posed. Obviously, I wouldn't enjoy this season without the first season. I just like this one more because it's stringed along together a little more cohesively. We follow more so one person than an entire group of people. So yeah, I generally liked this one a lot more. Do I have any other notes? And yes, Mia, this is tea. I've already had my coffee. I really loved the Higurashi seasons. I will probably be buying this one on eBay because I can find it. I can actually find it. For some reason, I can't find the first one. But I will also probably be watching the new Higurashi to see if they've sort of changed anything, because I know I've had a couple YouTube videos analysing Mion and Shion because they are my favourite characters, and know that apparently a lot of Mion's arc is missing from the visual novel and stuff like that, so I'll see what the new Higurashi has to offer. But yeah, I also discovered that I can't just sit down and watch anime without doing some form of craft.
So, in terms of June anime, I actually want to continue on with shouting out the Phoenician Scheme, which is a movie. It is not an anime.
But Mia actually made me go to this movie with her because we were meeting up and we're like, oh my god, girls' day, let's go to a movie. So while I didn't quite understand it, I liked the theme of found family being your true family and the quirkiness of it all. It was really a treat on the eyes and a film student's like wet dream. 7.8 out of 10, I really liked it. Next is This Boy Caught a Mermaid. Now, this is an OVA similar to This Boy Can Fight Aliens, which I reviewed back in April. A gay anime in Pride Month? Who'da thunk? This was animated slightly better than the former short, and once again, I like that it's more implicit as a BL and focuses more on the main character Shima's own struggles. There is more suggestive elements in this OVA compared to the previous one I talked about, with it being a little more outright gay, but I'm pretty much indifferent to it, much like the prior This Boy OVA. So I also gave this one a 5 out of 10, much like the prior short. This one also technically isn't anime, but I feel like I would be shot if I did not talk about K-pop Demon Hunters. Yes, I watched the new Sony animated movie K-pop Demon Hunters that came out on Netflix. Leisha made me sit down and watch it because I said I wouldn't watch it until after I finished Higurashi, which didn't end up happening. She organized a movie night, and so me, her, and Emma all watched it together. I'm gonna give you most of my thoughts and opinions, but first of all, I will actually give you my due diligence as a reviewer and give you the plot. Huntrix is a demon fighting girl group whose plan it is to seal the Honmun, a protective barrier between the earth and the demon world. Gima, the demon king, sends the Saja boys, a boy band of demons, to fight Huntrix at their own game, singing and being idols, to destroy the world. With a side plot of romance and a hidden secret, Huntrix saved the day. There will be spoilers, but I don't want to spoil too much. I am going to give my opinions as well as some of my headcanons for the members regarding who their IRL counterparts could be, because it is a big topic of conversation of a lot of K-pop fans being like, actually, I think
this member of the Saja Boys is based off of this K-pop idol.
So, in terms of the movie was fun and super animated, like all good cartoon features should be. I really like a lot of like Netflix animated features, even if they're not by the same studios, which 9 out of 10 times they're not. Generally, there's a lot of really creative like movies, animes, all that sort of stuff, from Nimona to Over the Moon, Bubble. I really loved this animation-wise, and the animation also gave me Into Spider-Verse vibes. But in a post-Spider-Verse world, that unique style of animation is the bar for good, unique movies, and it does also come from Sony Animations. Which is to say, where's the next Spider-Verse? Anyway, in terms of the actual plotline of K-pop Demon Hunters, I found the story quite generic. But I will say the twist of Rumi being half demon did genuinely get me. Listen, I know when I say it's generic, pretty much I've watched a lot of battle anime and a lot of like battle anime, fighting anime, shonen anime. The whole plot point of fighting things and swearing you'll destroy them, but actually either becoming them or being them, and then overcoming them and the power of friendship, that sort of stuff, extremely common in anime. So it is like, it's like just a hero's journey type shit. It is like very, very common. So the actual plot points and story beats make a lot of sense and are very, very generic, as well as the like K-drama aspect, because there is parody of K-drama. I mean, where there is parody, there is truth. So it's like a lot of the plot points it was expected, like pretty generic for a film. I personally don't understand like the fanfare of wanting one of the characters to get revived, Like, yes, he's a good character, he deserves maybe more, but I felt his ending was very much the right course of action. I won't explain who it is or what happens if you haven't already been spoiled for it, but it makes sense. I don't see why he needs to be revived. And admittedly, the ending was also very whelming. I don't know if I was like expecting a performance or something, seeing as it started with a performance, or what, but for it to end so abruptly after the climax of the movie, it just left a lot wanting to be answered and wanting to be thought about. I kind of wanted like a proper epilogue for Huntrix. That's not to say I didn't like the film. I liked it a lot. It was really, really fun, really energetic, and it is a good fun watch. It's just that it's very basic. Like, we were talking to Mia after the film because she had to do something else, and she guessed the ending of the film like that without even having had watched the film. That is how like easy it is to guess what happens. That's not saying that it's not a fun film. I really liked it. I thought it was really funny. I had a good time. Just because something is a bit simplistic in the plotline doesn't mean you can't have fun. And I think that's why there's so much hype around this film, because it's fun. And because it's got K-pop in it, which is my favorite part of the movie. Which is my favorite part of the movie. I find it funny that I'm dressed as a girl who likes, like, bands and likes a lot of non-pop music, and I'm talking about K-pop. Obviously, my favorite part of the film is that it's K-pop. It was clearly a movie made for K-pop fans, which I do love. There's a lot of Korean culture imbued into the film. Now, I do get to talk about the part that I really, really wanted to talk about. First of all, the songs. Love Me Right, Black Suit, and Strategy was a fucking jump scare. And also how rude for them to cut off Love Me Right at the best part.
Shorty, I'ma party till the sun down.
The original songs were pretty good, and Leisha keeps trying to put Soda Pop in my head because I said it really didn't stick and I instantly forgot it. Because every time I try and remember the song, the only song that comes to my head is Astro's Candy Sugar Pop, which has been actually stuck in my head instead. But instead of Soda Pop being my favorite song of the entire film, my favorite song is Your Idol, which has actually sort of exploded in popularity as compared to Soda Pop in the real world. So I guess the Saja Boys win, and my soul would have been taken. Then is my personal headcanons. These are my personal headcanons. Personal headcanons! Leave below yours in the comments down below. I really want to know what yours are. But these are my personal headcanons about which K-pop groups Huntrix and Saja Boys remind me of. Now, the director actually stated there were specific K-pop groups that she used for inspiration for the characters. However, Huntrix reminds me of KDA rather than any like real life K-pop artists. From the styling to the flow of their songs to the fact that they both have a slash in the middle of their name, as well as the use of real singers to be their vocals instead of the actors that play them. It's what's done for like all of the League of Legends groups, but because KDA is the longest running and the most popular, I cannot shake Huntrix and KDA being the same. There is also like visual similarities between them, specifically for Rumi, and I cannot remember the member of KDA because I don't play League of Legends. Whereas for the Saja Boys, I could definitely get the vibe of a couple different K-pop groups, with obviously the main one being ATEEZ. Using the groups that the director actually gave, I made a headcanon on which member of the Saja Boys could have been inspired by which idol, as well as one alternate for each group, for each member. Now, I'll put on screen the groups that apparently influenced the Saja Boys, but these are my personal headcanons. So, first is Romance Saja, this being Felix from Stray Kids, mainly because of their hair. Abs Saja, I think everyone at this point agrees it's San from ATEEZ. There is no wiggle room, except maybe Wonho from Monster X. Maybe. Now, Jinu, I know Jinu is actually, like, modeled off of 2 real-life actors. By the fact that he's, like, the frontman of the group, and that, like, he's the heartthrob, that he's, like, the main vocalist, I got Jungkook from BTS. Straight up, I got Jungkook. And I'm like, that is Jeon Jungkook. I'm fucking up his name. As someone who was an army in the peak of BTS, that is Jungkook. Anyway, I've never said that man's name out loud before. I've only ever texted it. Mystery Saja, I have not seen anybody bring up Daesung from Big Bang. I have seen nobody bring up Daesung from Big Bang. Did nobody? Clearly people watched Bang Bang Bang. Did you not see? That is the only right answer in my head. maybe a member of SHINee, but the director said Big Bang, so I'm saying it's Daesung from Big Bang. Baby Saja is either Joohyun or I.M from Monster X, because the flow that he does is very, very similar to both Joohyun and I.M. I've had people compare both of them to him, so I really think it can go either way. I'm honestly in the middle of those two, because originally I was like, yes, that's Joohyun, he acts just like Joohyun. But then someone side by side played I.M rapping and Baby Saja rapping, and I'm like, shit, that's the same flow. So it has to be one of the rappers from Monster X, and there's no room. No wiggle room. No wiggle room. Baby Saja is absolutely one of the Monster X rappers. Mystery Saja is Daesung from Big Bang. You cannot convince me otherwise. Jinu is Jungkook. Ab Saja is San, and Romance Saja is Felix from Stray Kids. I am missing TXT on that list, but this just felt like the right combo for me. Overall, I really liked this movie. I thought it was super fun. Definitely a joy, as most people I follow, K-pop stan or not, has fallen in love with this movie. I give it an 8 out of 10. I thought it was really fun. And that is my opinion. That is all of my anime and other things for June and May. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Bye. July anime. This actually stumped me up because for the first time in forever, I'm actually watching a simulcasting show live. So I am currently watching and have been watching There's No Way I Will Be Your Lover Unless, which is illustrated by the same person who made Whisper Me a Love Song. I did actually see the first volume of the manga in Minotaur a little while ago, but I hadn't picked it up. Then I saw the anime, like someone in the cosplay community recommended it to me, so I was like, let's watch it, but I haven't finished it. It is only up to about episode 6 of as of me recording this. So, technically, I only have one anime that I watched in July, and it is Plastic Nesan. I know last month, when I talked about Higurashi, I was just gooped and gagged about Rena's voice line from Higurashi making me just like a sleeper agent, as well as being able to put a name to the face of the ultimate yandere Shion. But back in my day, anime cracks were all over my YouTube feed, and there was some fucking insane out of context clips that when I watched them, I would hopefully one day find out the full context of these clips. The problem is, it was really hard to find what animes were what in these anime cracks, because usually you're overlapping shit. And so yes, one day, I wanted to find out the context of all of those crazy batshit clips. Because why is a baseball player stripping down by flexing his muscles, then humping the air at a group of teenagers? I was so desperate to find out the context of that clip when I was younger, because I was like, what the fuck is this? Is this in that one baseball anime? Come to find out, so many of these insane clips come from a gag high school anime whose total runtime of the entire anime reaches just about 30 minutes, including all the openings and endings, whose episodes are about 2 minutes each, shorter than Hitalia, and finding out that all of those out of context clips were 90% of the time in context because there is no other scenario outside of the context of that scene. I found the full season of Plastic Nesan, an anime about a high school model building club who go and do anything and everything under the sun because it's fun, because they want to. That's it. That is the synopsis. I found this anime fully on YouTube and watched the entire season while waiting for Baby No Money tickets to drop. That is how quickly I ran through this anime. Seeing as I can't talk about the plot because there is none, it's a gag anime that is 2 minutes long per episode, I will share some gags that I have seen that I was so surprised to see in this anime. Like, this anime apparently had a fucking chokehold on anime YouTube and the anime crack making community in the mid 2010s, and I had no fucking idea and I could not connect the dots. Number 1, Nesan getting shoved into the wall. I thought this clip was from a K-On! Styled anime. Thought it was for like something completely different. So to see it here, first of all, was very surprising. Number 2 is this specific dance. If anybody has seen any like fun and silly AMVs or MEPs or the such, maybe the Anime's Got Talent multi-editor project, this fucking dance was there. It was rotoscoped, screened in, and it's one of those dances that's just funny to green screen into your video, like the Chica dance. What I didn't know is that this was supposed to be some kind of weird fucking punishment where she's shaking her ass with a bag between her legs to fuck with her friend. I don't think anybody realized that who just saw the clip in a multi-editor project. And I also don't think I realized that the thing between her legs was a bag. Number 3, I've already described this one. It's the baseball player. This is the one scene where I guarantee before watching my video you have seen this specific episode somewhere, because this isn't just a scene, it is a full episode of this anime. I think it is the number 1 what the fuck anime clip of all time. What I didn't know, as I have said, is that this clip is the full context of this scene. There is no before this scene, there is no after. It is this scene. I thought originally this scene would be in a comedy anime like One Punch Man or a parody of a sports anime. Maybe, I think it was, I thought it might be in like one of the many baseball animes there are, and that surely there had to have been more to this scene than just this. No. This was literally the entire episode, and that absolutely rocked my fucking world, because what do you mean that's the entire episode? I can't say this wasn't interesting and weirdly nostalgic, seeing that I've clearly seen half of the anime without even realizing it by having so consistently watched different anime cracks when I was younger. And I am a little sad that to a lot of these scenes there isn't some greater context, especially in that first one where there is so much effort put into the wall slam. I really thought it would be for just something much bigger, for a much bigger anime than this. So yeah, overall, for a 30-minute long anime, I gave it a 6 out of 10. I'm just... wow. And once again, I found this on YouTube. Once again, for July, I did watch There's No Way I'll Be Your Lover Unless, but I am still watching that. So you'll probably not hear about that until September, to be quite honest, if it's 12 episode anime. But that being said, let's move into July manga. Okay, there is so much more in July manga than there was July anime, and that is because I went to Sydney. I read a lot this month. And that's not only in the fact that I read like massive books, but also slightly smaller ones. We're gonna start off with the 2 that I did not get in Sydney. Oh, sorry, the 3, but technically 2 different series. We're gonna start with Otaku Vampires Love Bite, volumes 2 and 3. I wrote very short, what's it called, reviews for these, solely because my heart's in it. I really do love these books, but it's really hard to fathom my thought processes with these books here. Starting with volume 2. Continuing off of the first volume, volume 2 introduces a new character, Victor, the servant of Hina's father. I decently like this volume. There's not a massive amount to say, other than I like that there's a queer main character in Hoshino. He's gay, in love with Amanatsu, and I only know he is male because the club he's in states as much. I still think that Hoshino is more genderqueer, but they have actually stated that Hoshino is male. So 7 out of 10, I really liked this one. I think it's really cute, and Hoshino not being able to tell Amanatsu he's a vampire is really sad. Then moving forward is volume 3. I actually didn't write a review of this one before I went to Sydney. I just for some reason liked this slightly more than the last volume. I think there were moments where I actually genuinely got disappointed for Amanatsu, where he got misled by Hina, and I really wanted him to like get behind the camera of Hina's cosplay rather than be in costume with Hina. As like in the story, Amanatsu gets really, really happy when Hina likes his photos, so the fact that he wasn't actually behind the camera to be able to take photos of Hina makes me sad. Genuinely, that actually makes me really sad for the character. There is a lot more cute moments in this volume, but I feel like it would have been way cuter if Amanatsu was actually taking the photos for Hina. That's all I really remember about volume 3, but I did give it a 7.5. The slightest bit more liked than this. I do still really like the series, and it is very cute. Anyway, moving forward, so I've left it up here behind all of these and behind my favorite lesbian, that's Joke. Paradise Kiss, big ass book. I had to wait until I finished Neighborhood Story to read this book, and I'm very, very glad that I did. It is the sequel to Neighborhood Story, and I read this in full in Sydney, and I have some feelings about it. First of all, thank fuck Yukari ends up with Hiro and not George. Paradise Kiss is the sequel to Neighborhood Story, but instead I'm focusing on Hiro, Arashi, and Miwako, the children and siblings of the characters in Neighborhood Story. It focuses on a new character, Yukari, who doesn't know what she wants to do in life other than what Yukari's mum had set for her. Then comes along George and Paradise Kiss. The story of a girl becoming a model and taking her life into her own hands is certainly interesting, but I am just so very conflicted with George as a character. I don't like him. I, like Yukari, do not understand him, and the story felt like it was running around in circles. It was clear that Yukari and George had something, whether it was attraction, George thinking Yukari to be his muse, or something else. What I don't think it was love. Really do not think those two were in love. No. The plot of George being in love with another girl comes up, and I lost a lot of interest in this Yukari and George pairing. Once again, the second the main character has to fight for the affection of the love interest, you have lost my interest. When all this is dissolved in the second to last chapter, I was very happy. Did I think it was sweet that Yukari got all the dresses that George made? Yes. It clearly means she meant something to him, but not as much as he means to Yukari. I like the Yukari and hero dynamic for the reason, one, there was actual attraction there. They do genuinely have a crush on each other, so there is like a viable reason for them to get together. And it is genuinely a great pairing. Two, they both understand each other on a level of knowing that they are not each other's the one that got away. A person who is so important to them and to their heart. It is a bittersweet ship, I definitely think that. But I was happy that that was what Yukari's ending was. Now, there's two things that I must mention that is stuck in my head. One that I love and one that I hate. Let's start with the one that I hate. Miyoko and Arashi, mainly the information that was provided to us at the end of the story, with Arashi sexually assaulting Miyoko for her first time, and as a result, when Arashi is upset, to mediate this, Miyoko will give up her body. Up until Arashi and Hiro speak, I didn't really understand that was happening, and I just thought they were just a cute couple. But no, clearly not, that was not happening. I thought they were just a cute couple, but that conversation between them recontextualizes everything in the story. I'm glad to see that Arashi is regretful and uncomfortable when confronted, and does change his behaviors when confronted by another guy, and the fact that it was a guy who had to call him out. That's all I really have on that specific topic, but it is something that stuck to my mind, and I can't just like unwind it, you know? Now, the thing that I love was more so a character that I really love, this being Isabella. She's a trans character, male to female, and she is dearly loyal to George. They're childhood friends, and George is one of the only people to take care of Isabella and really help her come into her own. I was really happy when she went with George in the end, and not so much for George's sake, but for Isabella's. As a character, I love that she can be crass and smug, but also a very enigmatic character. I love her story development, and I find it really fun that she's basically like Ayazawa's talking piece throughout this story, the fourth wall breaking character of the entire bunch, with sometimes George being thrown in there. It's really hard to describe, but I've read a lot of trans characters in media, and Isabel is just one of my favorites. She's just a very fun character. Paradise Kiss is another story and another case of me saying that I can't say I wasn't entertained when reading, but my enjoyment of the main couple really dragged the series into a ditch for me, one that I really struggled to get out of. There was good moments, it had good characters and my favourite sections, but with my main issue being the toxic relationship between George and Yukari, the main couple that the story focuses on, it can be a really frustrating read. I really preferred Neighborhood Story, and what Yukari and George have in this story is very, very similar to Bodyco and her boyfriend at the very start of the series throughout Neighborhood Story. And you know, I really didn't like that ship in Neighborhood Story, so why the fuck would you make an entire romantic coupling of that as your sequel and as the main characters? I really didn't like that part. It could be extremely frustrating to read at some points, so I gave it a 6.5. Yes, I enjoyed it less than Otaku Vampire Love Bite. So now we move into the books that I actually bought in Sydney, starting with How to Deal When Your Intimidating Neighbor is actually an Omega. Left me wanting more of an Omegaverse series, as this is a one-shot. It has an interesting concept. Hull was shown, didn't expect Linger liked Cook to be in it. I gave it a 5.5 out of 10. Next. I don't know which is Love Volume 2. Okay. I am no better than a man. Riri is my favorite character, the character on the front cover, and I really want her to get with Mei, but also I don't mind Karen. I just kind of prefer Riri as a character, while I just prefer Riri. While this is not as funny as volume 1, I do go all gooey over the lesbian harem concept, and that is why I started watching I Won't Be Your Lover Unless. I like that Mei gets a scene or a chapter with each member in the volume, and I can't really fathom any more opinions because women. I will say that I like there's a bit more story progression than fan service, but there is still a decent amount of fan service. I gave this an 8 out of 10. Yes, this is bias. This is my series, shut the fuck up. Continuing on, we have 2 volumes of Orange. You know, the series I finished. There was 2 more volumes! Now, I'm gonna say, first of all, I did a fuck up. I read these backwards. This one I was supposed to read first, and then this one. I read Orange to You, Dear One first. This is supposed to be the complete end of the series. But genuinely these can kind of be read either way. But I didn't know there was 2 stories, 2 after stories, or rather 2 finishing stories to Orange. And I got so pissed when I saw this in Kinokuniya, because I was originally only supposed to buy like 2 or 3 volumes, and then when I saw these 2, knew I had to add them to my collection, and so I ended up getting like 5 books. Kinokuniya is a dangerous place, but I don't think I would have found these otherwise. Orange to You, Dear One is the future of Kakeru and the friends who we follow in the main story as compared to the future versions of them trying to save Kakeru. It picks up roughly where we left off in the main story, with the other characters reacting to the letters that they got and how they apply them to interacting with Kakeru. But not as isolated one-shots like initially thought when picking up the book, but as shifting perspectives of their last year in high school and into the future, then 10 years into the future, where Kakeru and Naho get together and have a little boy. In all honesty, I was a little checked out when reading this, but liked the exploration of Kakeru's thought processes and more. We only got a little section at the end of the omnibus mangas, so having 2 dedicated chapters just from Kakeru's perspective made me really happy. I keep fucking up that child's name. There is an end story at the end of this volume that combines another one of Ichigo Takano's work, which I wasn't super interested in. It's like a completely different manga series that they melded as a crossover with this one. I don't know the other series, so I'm just like not interested. So I gave this a 6 out of 10. Being checked out doesn't really help me reading and reviewing manga. Then would be this manga right here, Scars. Now I'm not going to take this off of the shelf because then I have to put it back in its pretty little place. It's just going to stay there. Scars Volume 1. I picked this up at the bookshop Darlinghurst again. And as you can see on screen, there's a lot in this series. This is brutal. This is a brutal manga. Scars is the story about I can't pronounce his name properly. Kyonosuke, a boy who is regularly bullied about the scar spanning across his face. At age 15, due to money issues, Kyonosuke is forced to go back out to regular high school, where he is continuously bullied by his bully Kenta. At school, he meets Akira, the first person to actually befriend him. As him and Akira hang out, he ends up falling in love with Akira, but it turns out the girl he fell in love with was born a boy. Kyonosuke, unbothered by Akira's gender, reassures her that her gender doesn't matter to him and that they are officially in love. Their families, however, not quite as accepting. I will say the last chapter of the volume gives me a little bit of hope for them, but with a projected 5 volumes, I know some shit is coming for these characters, and based on how they were treated in volume 1, I am scared. This manga, I will say, can be potentially very triggering for people. Every chapter has some form of abuse, bullying, and physical violence. There's only one that doesn't, and that is the last chapter, which gives the main characters a small brief moment of positivity, before leaving us with dread as Kyonosuke's parents hire a private investigator to hunt him down. And I do think hunt him down is probably an accurate description. I will say there were a few times where I felt genuine shock in this manga. Like one, Kyonosuke's helicopter protective ass parents doing a 180 and slapping him when he said the person he liked was born a boy, and two, Akira's hair being cut. Having actually read the author's afterword and finding out a big motivation for him was it Good Morning Pum Pum? That's the kind of shit you're gonna see in this manga. So if you know anything about that manga, brutal coming into this manga right here. This is actually very interesting. I like this a lot. Not so much for the brutality of it, but just because this is the first time in a while I've been genuinely shocked by a manga and really just want to see the best for these characters. So that is all for Scars Volume 1. Again, I bought this at the bookshop Darlinghurst. Read with caution. That is what I have to say. Read this book with caution. Yeah, I didn't give this a rating. I don't think I can, in essence, give this a rating. So, for the first time in history, an unrated volume of manga. Now, going back to Orange. Orange Future. This was supposed to be read before this, but these have two different textures, and I thought this would be like way after this. I'm just a dumbass. This volume was solely from Suma's perspective and his guilt at getting with the girl both him and his best friend loved. The first half of this volume is the timeline of the main story, so the version of Suma, Kakeru and all that who are trying to save Kakeru, versus the latter half of this story, which is the reality in which Kakeru dies. I gave this one a 5 out of 10. Yes, less than the Omegaverse manga, solely because there is a big, like, persecution complex, which I understand does happen and is a part of the grieving process, but it was just a lot in this. Very self-pitying of Suma, which does, like, I don't know how to feel. I just really didn't like this compared to the rest of the manga and compared to this volume right here. So I gave it a 5, and that is all of my manga for July. So moving on to August. Art. If you're wondering why I'm recording with the front-facing camera, it's because it's the only angle to make this art look half decent. We, in the August section of this video, will be talking about art, yaoi, fashion. I'm wearing a beret on a beret. Fashion innovation right here. And if you say that's not a beret and that's not a beret, go fuck yourself. Don't actually. If you're wondering how the fuck I got this, I have an arsenal of them. They all need to be debuted. You can't even see my shirt. The self-promo shirt is back. Welcome to the August manga. We don't have manga. Well, okay, no, that's a lie. We do have manga. It is that. That is the manga for August. And on this channel, if I have to read that, it is its own separate video. And since it's Junji Ito and we are heading into September, that is not coming out until October because I have another manga to upload with it. So, yes, for manga of 2025 August, I only read The Liminal Zone. I gave it a 7. Into August anime, we have 4 series. Well, we have 3-ish series, 2 that come from the same OVA series. And yes, by the fact that I said OVA series, we will once again be talking about the boy blank series. Oh my god, this boy is fucking singing in italics. The yaoi series that is kind of growing out of problems with yaoi ham-fisted into the plot. You'll see what I mean later. But before we get into the short series yaoi and to the end of this OVA series, because I didn't know it was a series, I thought it was like 2 anime, because I didn't even know the first one existed. I just knew about the mermaid. So I got a cheap subscription, resubscription should I say, to Crunchyroll for like $3. So I'm like, fuck it, let's get that for 2 months, and binge watch as much anime as physically possible on Crunchyroll. I did decide to take advantage of that, but I did also decide to make the mistake of watching 2 currently simulcasting series, luckily for me, not on Crunchyroll, so I don't have to be stuck to them forever, but I'm watching 2 simulcasting series, this being I Won't Be Your Lover Unless... Oh, No Way I'll Be Your Lover. No freaking way I'll be your lover unless... And The Summer Hikaru Died. Yes, the books are somewhere in here. The Summer Hikaru Died, I've watched that simulcasting, and I've watched There's No Freaking Way I'll Be Your Lover Unless. Because they are currently simulcasting, I will not be reviewing them until the next Weeb wrap up. So let's get into something that I actually watched the full series of in August. This being Princess Jellyfish, and thus fashion. That is such an insult to Princess Jellyfish. But Princess Jellyfish. Now, this is a series that I have been vaguely interested in. I've seen a lot of people who like Nana or like Ayazawa recommend Princess Jellyfish, and I can see why. I would like to get my hands on the manga. I know there are box sets out there that I would like to get. I might get that for myself for Christmas, but Princess Jellyfish, the anime. So I must disclose this before we get into this review, that the day I watched the entire series, because I binged in a day because it's only 11 episodes, my head was in a very cloudy place, and so that affected my viewing experience and the way that I reviewed this anime. I think it made me relate much more to Tsukimi more than I normally would. Tsukimi as a protagonist is a little gloomy, but it's an early 2000s shoujo rom-com type beat with a fashion makeover element. The main character is going to be gloomy. I love the wallflower for the same fucking reason. This gloominess is a normal trait in a lot of early 2000s rom-com shoujos with a fashion spin. And normally it is a trait that annoys me in these kinds of shoujo protagonists. But Tsukimi felt different. I don't know if it's because I saw my own mindset in Tsukimi. I wanted to see how her character transforms, which admittedly is not a lot. She's kind of cyclic in the anime, and I can only assume that in the manga there is more, especially after episode 11, in terms of like manga progression and character progression in Tsukimi, or they didn't quite translate it correctly from the manga to the anime. I hope there's more growth for Tsukimi in the manga, as I would like to go out and get it. It's been a while since there was a series where I was so desperate to read the manga because of how the anime ended. I really need to read the manga for Jellyfish Princess because the anime really felt like the right thing to watch at that time. Something I needed and didn't really know, or didn't realize it. As someone who has seen Jellyfish to be actual dress inspiration in the past, I felt weirdly connected to the story in mostly unexpected ways, but in some ways that I did expect, being a big fan of Neighborhood Story. Personally, I think this is the worst review I've ever done of an anime, despite the fact that I have continuously neglected to actually, summarize the anime. But I think this one is probably my worst proper review of an anime because it's the most emotionally driven and the most emotionally written. Of course, there are things I dislike about Princess Jellyfish. The blackmailing plotline for Shu. You know, the blackmailing, roofie distributing, like, office lady who wants to destroy the place where Tsukimi feels the most herself, potentially actually falling in love with her victim, and said victim potentially having reciprocating feelings. Not a fan of that. I think that is crazy. I feel like more could have been done with Shu in that aspect, but I do like how Shu is really just a crush for Tsukimi, a transitional thing that sort of goes nowhere, how that it's Shu's role in the series, but his plot with Inari, you know, the chick that roofied him, is weird. I don't like it. I think it's just plot fodder. I don't understand why it's there. Maybe to get Shu out of the picture, but why couldn't you have just given him, you know, an actual love interest? I also don't know what the hand thing Shu did was in the series. Why is that so significant? I didn't quite understand that. The whole Shu and Inari plot feels weird, and sometimes I'm left confused as to why we are following these characters. I love Kyonosuke. He is such a fun character. I love this character so much. And I love how he devolves when he starts to realize he actually has feelings for Tsukimi. I also love that Tsukimi doesn't really care that he's a cross-dresser for fun, and how her main issue is making sure that the women of Amamizukan don't know that he's actually a man. I think in the terms of the women of Amamizukan, I weirdly felt a lot like Mayaya. Like, she is the character who, if I translated whole SMP to Princess Jellyfish, I feel like I would be Mamaya. And she's just a character that I relate to a lot, despite the fact that I have no love for her interests, and at times I think she is very annoying. It's probably the drama of her character that I like. She does have her moments that are really silly and goofy. TheDramaticOtaku. Of course I would love this character. I think she's silly and fun. I also love the chauffeur, I don't remember his name, but the chauffeur who's just in love with his Mercedes-Benz. Every comment he gave got a decently good laugh from me, and his attitude as well, I thought it was very funny. Even if the story of Princess Jellyfish, at least in the anime, is a little bit muddy, isn't always straightforward as well, the characters really do sell the series, and it makes the series that much more enjoyable. This has been such a ramble of a review that I have written down. Literally, if I speak like this on camera, it's usually because I haven't scripted out the review. This is a scripted review, so you can tell where my head was at when I actually wrote it. So, moving forward, I gave the series an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. It was just the series that I needed at the time. And so yeah, I gave it an 8 out of 10. Moving forward, we move on to This Boy Suffers from Crystallization. And I am so not a fan. This being the third of my reviews of the This Boy series. Now, I liked the mermaid one because as a theme with all of these OVAs, ONAs, whatever, they all have some sort of theme with youth and with developing. I liked the mermaid one because it was dealing with death and dealing with grief and stuff like that, and also because something that is also very common with this series clearly is the dynamic of a mentor or an older man with a student. So, not the biggest fan. So This Boy Suffers from Crystallization. The main character I don't remember his name, and I literally just watched the anime. He suffers essentially from social anxiety, which is deemed as crystallization. So he's literally like freezing and crystallizing the more nervous he gets. And the only person he can rely on is his literal teacher, who is very into crystals. Not a fan, because the main character keeps saying, oh, do you want to touch my crystal, which is definitely an innuendo. And it feels that way in the short. Now, I will give the thing its props. The teacher won't get with the student until he's graduated, but that's still really fucking weird, a weird dynamic. I don't like the dynamic. And compared to the other two, like the first one, I didn't realize it was a series, and so I was sort of just analyzing it, and it was more of a found family thing than a yaoi thing. This one swings definitely more into trying to push that romance aspect, which I don't like, because it's a student-teacher relationship. With the mermaid one, there's like a plausible deniability that the mermaid, like, while looking older, you don't know the mermaid's age. So it's like, you don't know, it's a mythical creature. You don't know what age that fucking mermaid is, and this kid is like suffering with the death of his grandfather. So the first one was all about self-worth. Second one was about grief. This one is about social anxiety. But this one, for some reason, I don't know if it's just I wasn't paying attention as clearly to the other two, but this one, like, focuses a lot more on the relationship between the two characters, and I think it's just worse because it is such like power dynamic kind of relationship with a student and a teacher. And that's probably why I like it the least. So I'm giving this like a 3. No, I'm giving it a 2. Just because, like, I don't like this one. I just don't. There's no reason for me to give it higher. The art style is about the same. Actually, I think the mermaid one has the best, like, through art style out of all of them. I really wasn't a fan of This Boy Suffers from Crystallization, so I'm going to give this one a 2. I like the metaphor of crystallization for social anxiety. That is about it. And I guess the art is somewhat pretty, but it's not as good as the mermaid one. So this one gets a 2. I don't remember what I gave. I think I gave the mermaid one a 6. So that tells a lot. So yeah.
Frieren, Beyond Journey's End. Frieren is an elf mage whose lifespan is an eternity compared to a human. At the beginning of the series, we see the return of the party of heroes, Himmel, Haita, Ikson, and Frieren. Having saved the land from the Demon King's rule after a grueling 10-year journey, after their success, the group watch a meteor shower that occurs every 50 years, vowing to see each other as a group again for the next one. Which, after seeing the meteor shower, Frieren then decides that she's going to spend the next 50 years exploring the land for spells, for herbs, and just to generally gain more mage knowledge. 50 years later, the group come together again. An elderly Himmel and Haita and an aged Ikson all go on one last journey with Frieren, after which Himmel dies. Frieren, feeling regretful that she didn't get to know her friend in his life, does her most to visit Ikson and Haita in their later years. During this time, Haita adopts a young girl named Fern and asks Frieren to teach her as a maid. After Haita's death, and a little bit of plot development in which Frieren is visiting Ikson and this, that, and the third, Frieren and Fern set off to, I can't pronounce this one, Oriole, heaven. So Frieren can once again talk to Himmel the hero, and maybe so Fern can see Haita again. Ison's apprentice Stark being picked up along the way, because Stark had a fight with Ikson. As a binge watcher of the first season of this series, as a second season is coming out in January of next year, I like how each episode tends to be a dynamic of a plot starting midway through one episode and ending in the next. It makes a really nice rhythm and a through line through each episode. Then, of course, that structure
of something starting in the middle of one episode and ending in the middle of the next dies off in the first class mage arc. An arc that I dislike. So, it's a similar thing to what I dislike in Mashal, and the reason why I haven't actually watched most of the second season of Mashal. It's the whole structure of a lot of new characters, and there's some sort of battle or competition, and it's just a never-ending cycle of hurdles, in which the protagonist, in this case Frieren, may overcome by going essentially Super Saiyan. Now, Frieren, being OP as fuck in this series, has genuine grounding, which makes sense, and that I actually really like. It's based in the reality of the canon of the show, and that makes me happy because she's an old as fuck mage who can wipe out literally every other mage that's there because she has got literally like millennia of experience compared to those guys. But she still has to go through these trials, which is really annoying to me. I like that it's genuinely grounded in the canon of the series. It makes me happy because there's none of this like power of friendship level up. She's like genuinely trained because she has a millennia of experience over all of her other competitors. It's very logical in a battle strategy kind of way, and that's what I really like. All the like thought that's put into why Frieren is genuinely better than all of these other mages. I still dislike the arc because it pads out over several episodes per test, and that's the kind of thing that I dislike in a lot of anime when they have battle arcs that go over a couple of episodes. It just feels too elongated and is a big reason why I have stopped watching stuff like My Hero Academia because of the several episode long battles. I will say, in terms of the 3 tests of the First Class Mage arc, I do dislike the first test the least. The second test kind of swung me around more, and obviously the third test is 1 episode. So it does annoy me that it's the mage test that ended the season out. Something progress, something sidetracked, something too many battles. But I did enjoy the like characters of this arc, much like with Princess Jellyfish, where the plot was kind of muddy, but I really love the characters. It is something similar in Frieren in this arc, where it's like not necessarily the story of the arc that pushes me through, it's the characters of the arc that pushes me through, and I hope to see more of these characters in the future, much like Frieren. My things that I love from the arc that I dislike. One, I'm gonna fuck up her name, Lovine? I don't know if it's Lavine, because that's what it sounded like, or Lavine, or Lawine. It sounds like they're saying va in it. Lawine and Kane, favorite lesbians. They're lesbians. You can't tell me otherwise. Those two are lesbians. And in the last episode, I actually got really sad because I realized that Himmel had been loving Frieren for his entire life. If you're like me and do believe that Himmel was in love with Frieren like I do, then that just makes me really sad. You know? Oh my gosh. The critically acclaimed anime is actually really good. Who could have thought? Shock horror. Anyway, Frieren is absolutely adorable as a series. I think it's really funny, really goofy. Frieren as a character is really fun. I really love her. I also love Fern. My hair is kind of Fern's hair color. My hat is kind of Fern's hair color. It's a really funny and joyful anime. As someone who isn't like a massive fantasy fan, who doesn't like that kind of like world building lore, doesn't like necessarily go into like that stuff that often, I'm much more of a you know, magical girl, history romance. All of these are semi-grounded in reality. I'm not much of a fantasy fan. I don't read fantasy novels that often. If I do, it's usually got some kind of gimmick. So as someone who's not a massive fantasy fan, I really liked this series. And that's saying a lot. This boy is a wizard. But unlike in the other 3 series, he's not a boy, he's a grown man. So, this one was very different from the other ones. First of all, it's the only one that's been split into 4. I feel like I've said all of this before. I'm getting a great sense of deja vu. You tend to in these kinds of series. Genuinely, I mean, especially after watching Furin, I like this one for different reasons to why I may like the other ones. So, this boy series, once again, dealing with some sort of insecurity in the protagonist. In this one, it was really interesting. I don't know what about it. Maybe it's the dynamic, the fact that they're both adults. But the love interest was kept in the dark for most of it, which I guess is similar to the mermaid one. Didn't necessarily like that it was cut up. Would have liked it if it was 1 episode, but I can see, like, if it was airing, okay, that's why it was cut up into 4. I like the setting more. It has more character in that sense. And I mean the fact that it's like office wizards, but not really wizards. They're basically like firefighters or crisis carers of some form, but they're wizards, so they can just do shit immediately by themselves. I think it's because I focused more on the last 2 episodes. There wasn't a massive amount of the love interest. Like, there was barely any of his character, but a lot into the psyche of the main character. And I feel like it goes to a stronger depth than the other ones, and it's really hard to describe why. I like it. Like, originally when I started this, I did not want to watch it because of the previous one. Because of the crystallization one, I didn't want to watch this one. I'm kind of glad I did, because then this whole series has ended off a little bit on a high note. I would probably give this one a 6. At the start, I was so not interested, as I said. I just like the dynamic of it more, and it being in smaller episodes does give a little more character, speeds things up a little bit in the series, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm giving this one a 6 out of 10. It's a very short series. The first 2 episodes I thought were really boring. They're 7-minute episodes instead of 1 23-minute episode, so I don't know why that's the case. It's basically the same fucking length, and these have openings and endings on each episode. So for the shorts for this little one, I thought it was decent. 6 out of 10. Let's end the video. So that is all for my August, because I can't really just say it was anime because there was manga, but it's mostly anime, which is shock horror. Oh my god. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy, let me know down in the comments below. Do you have any recommendations for me? I will be taking them. And I will see you guys in the next viscous piss. At least me likes to think so. For those wondering, it's actually orange juice and ginger ale. Hello everybody, my name is Brooklyn, otherwise known as TheDramaticOtaku, and welcome to the September-October Weeb wrap-up. Now, you may be wondering, what is this setup? Why am I at my computer? Don't look at all this. You don't see her. Well, simply put, I've come back from PAX. Yes, I'm filming this during after PAX, solely because I was making this cosplay. So, we are today cosplaying myself from Whole SMP. Go watch Whole SMP after this video. But, welcome to the Weeb Wrap-Up. If you do not know what the Weeb Wrap-Up is, it is my bi-monthly review series in which I review all of the anime and manga I have watched over the last 2 months, with obvious spoilers ahead for every single series that I talk about. There will be disclaimers and content warnings ahead of each series. That being said, this is the September side, so let's talk about September manga. I read one, and it's a continuation of a series. I read the rest of Mao Volume 4. Seeing as there was a several month gap between me starting Volume 4 and me finishing Volume 4, I actually really don't have a lot to say about it. I gave it a 6 out of 10. I like the series decently enough. And yeah, that's it. So anime! I can only have one, really, can't I? I can only either have anime or manga, I swear. So, glasses on, motherfuckers, because we need to chat about the anime that I watched. So, a lot of this was in the English dubs, solely because I, did not have time to watch anime and do all my pack stuff and read manga in September. So, we're gonna start with Stranger by the Shore. I thought this was really cute. I gave it a 7 out of 10. It gave me the warm and fuzzies. But I will be so real. I wasn't a massive fan of this. As I said, it did give me the warm fuzzies. I think it's a decent series, so I gave it a 7 out of 10. I just couldn't get over the age gap. The whole unraveling of one of the characters not being able to confront his truth. I did love that in the plot progression of the movie, but I really just couldn't fully enjoy it because of the 7-year age gap between the love interests. When we start the movie, one of the love interests is still a teenager, still in high school. I like that the romance doesn't happen until he is in his 20s, but I just couldn't get over the age gap. I really, really couldn't, and something about it just would not leave my head. So I gave it a 7 out of 10. I liked it decently enough, but that just bothered me a lot. And now from Yaoi to Yuri. So in the last 2 months of my last Weeb wrap up, I talked about a series called There Is No Freaking Way I Will Be Your Lover Unless. This is my little comfort Yuri anime, and oh my god, I love it. I love it so much. So this was my lifeline. I was having a very hard time at work, still am, and so this was my lifeline Yuri. I was there every Tuesday having a crash out, getting home and watching my little gays be gay. And the best part about this anime is that I watched it for free on YouTube. Shout out to anime powered by Rimeow? This channel. Now, this is going to be a very long review because I took extensive notes on the entire series, especially since there are 3 major arcs over 12 episodes. So, There's No Freaking Way I'll Be Your Lover Unless is the story of Renako, an awkward introvert attempting to reinvent herself for her high school years as a total social butterfly to make friends for the very first time, managing to land herself with the popular girls. However, Renako is an introvert through and through, and has to leave social settings due to being overstimulated. Introvert burnout is fucking real. This leads her to the roof of the school, and Aduka Mai, the queen bee of the school and of their friendship group, a model and the apple of literally everybody's eye, appears on the roof to check on Renako. This shocks Renako, causing her to fall off the roof. Mai chases after her, jumps off the roof, and by some miracle they land in a tree, in which Mai and Renako end up sitting in the tree, Kissing, not yet. While sat in that tree, Renako confesses her strong feelings for Mai that are friendly, and Mai confesses romantic feelings for Renako in a roundabout way. And this is where the series truly starts, with Mai beginning the start of this mental Yuri harem. I really love this series. It's funny, it's cute, I love the art style as well, and as I said before, there are 3 major arcs over 12 episodes. Episodes 1 through 4 is Mai's arc, so this being the first main love interest of Renako. Episodes 5 through 8, Satsuki. 5 through 8 is her arc. Then there's Ajisai, who is episodes 9 through 12. I will review each arc as a standalone in the story, then together. But seeing as Satsuki, Ajisai, and Mai all have their own arcs, I think it would be a little just to give a little bit of love to my girl Kaho. She is a himajoshi and she is completely gay through and through, and I love her. She is the number 1 Mai lover, but is also just straight up a himajoshi. She just loves women. And I love that for her. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. She loves women. And I think that's very great. Good for you, Kaho. But she doesn't really appear that much in the anime. So I think that's a little bit weird. Anyway, so to begin, we have Mai's arc. The real jumping off point to the series that is not supposed to be a pun. It's where the whole game of friend versus girlfriend begins, with Mai designing Renako as her girlfriend, but Renako just wants to have a best friend and be good friends with Mai. This arc is all about consent and how your intention affects your relationships, with the question being posed, what makes a friendship and what makes a lover? Now, Mai as a character is a very princess Hime style character, with her personality matching closest, I would say, to that of Tamahisuo or Kyoyo Utari. Like, she knows exactly what she wants and how she's gonna get it. She's also a model, she's very beautiful, unbelievably rich, and she is also just very forceful in her ways to get what she wants, which she will usually get. In this case, she wants Renako as her girlfriend. Episode 2 is probably the best show of this, with Renako taking Mai out on a friend date, and then Mai taking Renako to a hotel room and basically coercing Renako to bathe with her, which becomes a theme for some reason in this series. So I noted it multiple times within this arc, specifically obviously within the first 4 episodes, but Mai is continuously pushing boundaries, and it does make me very uncomfortable as a viewer. And I'm not the only one. I've put up a couple comments, but every time I would look into the comments under each episode, I would get a lot of what I'm thinking just spurted back at me. And I believe this is because Mai doesn't actually know how to interact with Renako. She simply knows what she wants, and she acts the way she does based on her interpretation of Renako's confession in episode 1. But she actually ignores the intentions behind Renako's words. In episode 3, Mai assaults Renako. There is no ifs, ands, or buts on whether it is assault. It was assault. And Renako literally said no multiple times to Mai, in which Mai only actually stopped when they were caught out by Renako's sister, which not only exposed the nature of Renako and Mai's relationship against Renako's wishes, but also changes the nature of Renako's relationship with Mai and her sister, which only proves Renako's point of wanting friendships, and why, Renako has this whole thing of romantic relationships destroying friend groups, and that's why she so hard does not want a romantic relationship. But this goes on to prove that to Renako, that it's going to affect her relationship with her sister, and it's absolutely going to affect her relationship with Mai. Now, do they recover in the literal next episode? Yes. But again, I like that in the series there are actual consequences, and that there are social consequences to Mai doing this to Renako, and there is a knock-on effect into the next arc because Mai does this. And I really like that assault is just not romanticized and endorsed, like in certain BL series. Then is the 4th episode. I will say, as a result of Mai assaulting Renako, Renako slaps Mai, which is part of the consequences to her actions. But because of this, in the 4th episode, Mai is brooding. She's really sad. She's like, okay, my girlfriend doesn't love me anymore. She slapped me. I can't deal with this. She drama queen 100%. She's a brooding, and she is upset with Renako, while Renako is upset with Mai. And Renako goes to confront Mai about the events in episode 3, which in most cases, in this type of scene, it is one person apologizing to another person, and is usually the protagonist apologizing for things that they don't need to fucking apologize for. That's what I've seen in other anime and in other manga, and it pisses me off. This time that doesn't happen, which makes me really happy. This time, both Mai and Renako are apologizing for 2 different things, which I can understand why Renako is apologizing, but I don't think she really needs to, but also I do understand why she needs to in the first place. Pretty much, Mai is apologizing for hurting Renako in a way that caused her to slap Mai. So this forcing herself onto Renako in both emotion and physically. Renako apologizes to Mai because A, she slapped Mai, B, also not actually giving Mai a proper chance to show why a relationship with Renako would be better than just a friendship with Renako, which is Renako was not giving Mai that chance to be a relationship. She was only wanting to be friends, and that's why Mai took it up at a level where she really shouldn't have fucking taken it. But in this scene, Mai, obviously, as I said, apologizes for that, and Renako apologizes that she hasn't done the deal like she did like how Mai is doing it, where Mai is actually like being friends with Renako while also doing the girlfriend thing. Renako is only trying to do the friend thing and not the girlfriend thing. At the end of this episode, they apologize to each other. There is this absolutely gorgeous kiss, and it's beautiful and fantastic because there's actual like consent behind the like kiss, and it makes me really, really happy, and it's so cute. I really love this approach to consent. I do hate that Renako does have to apologize for anything. Like, yes, I understand that Renako was not upholding her part of the deal, and Mai was trying to pull that out of Renako, but it was just in a very forceful way, so I still feel very conflicted on whether Renako really should have apologized in that moment. But the reason that the kiss at the end of this episode works so well is because it is consensual. Both sides are being like, yes, we're gonna kiss, we're gay, we're girlfriends in this moment, we're gonna kiss. I was very conflicted at the end of this arc, but I did really love, like, as I said, the kiss at the end of it. I will say, the one thing I really, really fucking hated about this arc is the more than friends, less than lovers trope that it ended on. I hated this shit in Osamake. I so fucking hate it now as well. I'm glad it isn't super zoned in on like in Osamake, but oh my god, I hate this trope so badly. Okay, so in a roundabout way, the first arc I really don't mind. I like it a lot. There is things that I just find not okay with the first arc. But then is episodes 5 through 8, which begins Satsuki's arc. Which is leading off of Mai's. This is the social consequences that I was talking about, the knock-on effect that Mai assaulting Renako has throughout the rest of the series. In which Mai pissed off Satsuki because Satsuki had a crush on Mai. Then when Mai got denied by Renako, Mai runs to Satsuki to be like, my friend doesn't like me. Can I cry into your arms? Because I know you will like me. Like a bitch. So this results in Satsuki being really pissed off with Mai, and then pretty much insisting to Renako, hey, we're gonna start a 2-week relationship to piss off Mai. And I'm gonna say it, I really like this dynamic change up. I don't know why I started doing that voice. When we transitioned to Satsuki and Renako's arc together, within the first arc, it was Mai obsessing over Renako. This getting flipped on its head in the second arc, with Satsuki instead kind of obsessing over Mai, but still treating Renako like Mai. But unlike in the first arc where Renako was really against being reciprocal, Renako is the opposite. And she reciprocates due to Mai's like conditioning in the first arc, and as such, Satsuki doesn't expect it and gets really like overwhelmed and like blushy when Renako does something really romantic to Satsuki. Satsuki isn't fucking expecting it. I like that dynamic where it's Satsuki being obsessed over Mai and trying to get back at Mai by doing all the things that Mai did to Renako, but Renako reciprocates it, and it shocks Mai. I think that's really like fun. I really like that. Satsuki's double standards are really funny, and there's just something about a cool type character like Satsuki being sort of an all over the place hothead at the same time, kind of like Kageyama from Haikyuu. It's a similar kind of vibe going on between them. I will admit that this arc is much cuter than the previous arc with Mai. I don't know if it's because of Satsuki's resemblance to Yori, even though Yori is much more of a tomboy, and as I literally just said, Satsuki is a lot more like Kageyama from Haikyuu. But I like Satsuki more than Mai as a love interest, but that might be because she's not actually into Renako. And with this arc being such a switch up from Mai's like super persistence over Renako to Renako trying to fix Mai and Satsuki's relationship. The dynamic of Satsuki and Renako just as a whole is really funny, and a little bit cute at the same time, because in the essence of getting revenge on Mai and just interacting socially together, Satsuki is the expert in like social interactions and like trying to get the upper hand, which leaves Renako floundering. But in the romantic homosexual aspect, Renako is accidentally an expert, as I've been yapping on about, because of Mai's conditioning. And this causes Satsuki to be incredibly flustered, which is fucking adorable, right? And the way the arc concludes is also really just like fun and silly, with it being a video game battle, like a 3v3 PvP like battle royale style shit. I think that's funny and cute and silly. And I didn't actually mind the 3D inclusion in this series because it ended up actually kind of working. That's my main thing with this arc, is that I just like the dynamic. It's really fun, really silly, because it's like a total switch up from the first arc, which I've said multiple fucking times. My last notes on the arc really is that, once again, I love Satsuki and Renako together. I like them more as friends than I do as a ship, but I also kind of adore their ship. And Satsuki's mother is a MILF. My eyes were blessed when I saw her. Compared to Mai's arc, Satsuki's arc is mostly about Mai, so it was really interesting when I got into the next arc, which is Ajisai's arc. Now, I have to state, Ajisai as a character, she's a big sister type character, and she is part of the friend group of Mai, Satsuki, Kaho, Renako, all that sort of stuff. And she has been like Renako's rock. Like, Renako like accidentally confessed to Ajisai that like she loves Ajisai so much. Ajisai's response was to kiss Renako. And Renako like couldn't clock that Ajisai has a massive crush on Renako. And it like from episode I think 4 onwards, the more interactions we have with Ajisai, the more it's clear Renako really likes Ajisai, wants her to be like best friends, but also clearly likes Ajisai romantically, but just can't wrap it around her head because she's dealing with Mai all the fucking time and Satsuki at the same time. Like in Satsuki's arc, Ajisai just wants to hang out with Renako. That's all she wants to do. She just wants to hang out because they're friends, but she can't because Renako is with Satsuki constantly for 2 weeks. So we get into episode 9. Pretty much, there is a relationship dynamic that I have mentioned so much in like romance manga and like in so many of my manga reviews about the protagonist fighting for the love of the love interest rather than vice versa, and then giving it up to the rival. Now, Ajisai kind of embodies this arc, like this trope, this dynamic, but she embodies it as the love interest. Like, I really love how, from the perspective of Ajisai, if the series had been from her perspective, I would fucking hate this. Like, I would get so angry because the way Ajisai like does things is like a shoujo protagonist. Like, it is exactly like how the characters in like an Io Sakisaka book would act. But seeing this dynamic from Renako's perspective, all you want to do is like root for Ajisai. As I said, throughout the series, Ajisai has like tried to kiss Renako, has wanted to hang out with Renako. She wants to like be closer friends with Renako, go on dates with Renako. All you want is the best for Ajisai. And I really like the dynamic where you as an audience member can tell that she wants to ask out Renako, but gives it up to Mai. But then, for some reason, Mai encourages Ajisai for some healthy competition for Renako. Which allows Ajisai to be selfish, because Ajisai is the big sister character type. So she doesn't really want to be selfish for her own needs, especially when she can see Mai is in love with Renako. What's it called? This whole trope of Ajisai not being able to like do what she wants being like further backed up obviously by the fact that she's a big sister character, and in her home life she is like constantly looking after her brothers, stuff like that. I think I like feel Ajisai just on a like spiritual level because I grew up being the eldest sister, so I can relate to her in some aspect. But something I also like in this series is that we as an audience don't necessarily see things the way that Renako does. Meaning we can really easily read Ajisai. Really easily. Renako does not. She is such a dimwit. Like, this girl tried to kiss you, and you didn't do anything. You didn't do anything. I also love that we can just really easily read Ajisai's thoughts behind her actions and just see how obvious it is that she has feelings for Renako. One of the biggest notes I made during episode 10 was that Ajisai is just really easy to read the entire time. You can just tell how she wants to pretend that Renako is actually her girlfriend and never wants to leave that fantasy, but she can't actually tell Renako this, unlike Mai and unlike Satsuki. Ajisai's arc I think I love the most, solely because it has been built up throughout the entire series how much Ajisai actually really genuinely likes Renako, as compared to Mai, who sort of likes Renako on a whim, and Satsuki, who only is going out with Renako to get back at Mai. Whereas with Ajisai, it feels the most genuine and has been built up the most across the entire series. We also, for this arc, partially switch protagonists to Ajisai. So for this arc, all I really wanted to do was encourage her. Unlike Mai, who wanted to make things happen wherever she could, and Satsuki, who was manipulating how she and Renako looked to Mai to make Mai jealous, Ajisai can't really do any of that. It's not in her nature to force Renako to do anything. In fact, she feels bad for having Renako come with her, but she's super, super happy that Renako decided to come with Ajisai as Ajisai ran away from home. That's the whole arc, by the way. And she is absolutely over the moon, and actually only runs away because Renako actually goes with her. If Renako wasn't there, Ajisai would have gone home. Senna would have gone the fuck home. But Renako was there. So it like gave her like a sense of confidence to actually go through with the plan of running away. And that's just like really fucking adorable. Ajisai just has such a genuine crush on Renako. And while some of the same points occur and happen like in the last 2 arcs, which I will mention in a second, the reaction compared to Mai and Satsuki is totally different, and it's because it comes from a completely like genuine down-to-earth place. It comes from a character who isn't able to actually express her truest feelings to the person she loves. She's really shy and really doesn't know how to confess to Renako, unlike the super bold Mai, so it ended off the anime really, really well, especially when Ajisai finally actually confesses to Renako. Overall, in terms of the series, I like that the series is really a debate over intentions of actions that make things either romantic or platonic. I really think that the art style is beautiful. It is a gorgeous saturation, beautiful colors. The palette makes me really happy, and I really love in the first episodes the moving shots of like Renako running up the stairs contrasted to like really cute round shots when they're like chibis and all that sort of stuff. The detail difference is really nice and consistent, and it makes me love this anime more than the Whisper Me a Love Song anime. It's everything that I wanted from that anime specifically. I love how each arc has their own message regarding consent, comparison, and caring for yourself, and I would be unjust if I did not mention something that happens throughout the series. There is a surprising amount of sexual content in this anime. Boob fondling in particular. I don't understand why it is there and why there is so much bathing. Like with the love interests. Bathing that leads to boob fondling. The only benefit of the doubt I can give this series is that all the characters are the same fucking age. When it happened the first time with Mai and Renako, that was weird. When it happened with Satsuki, that was even weirder. When it happened with Ajisai, that's the only one that made sense, because they were at a ryokan. That scenario makes the most sense, because they ran away. That is the only time the bathing made sense. Why otherwise did they have so much bathing with the love interests? That is what I don't get. I don't understand. That is the one thing that I don't understand with this anime. Moving forward. The art style is what I wanted Whisper Me a Love Song to be, seeing as it's illustrated by the exact same person. I did have some high standards going in, and I really loved that. I think this series, anime-wise, is better than Whisper Me a Love Song. I did see this manga sitting in Minotaur a couple months ago, but decided to give it a pass. Solely because I just couldn't see myself reading another Yuri. I'm still collecting my 3 golden music Yuri, so anyway, on a final note with this series, I love the progression of Renako throughout the arcs, and Renako's desire for a best friend kind of changing as she sort of realizes, hey, I am a little bit fruity. Who would have thunk? Oh my god, not me. And how at the very end of the series, she actually accepts Ajisai's confession. Spoilers, sorry. To end off this review, because it's been a whole lot, my favorite note was taken in episode 3, other than the note of Satsuki's mom being a fucking MILF. Anyway, Episode 3, My Being a Drama Queen, is really funny. Renako actually, like, being gay for Ajisai is kind of cute, and their friendship is really cute. I gave There's No Freaking Way I'll Be Your Lover unless a 9 out of 10. Because seriously, why the fuck is there so much bathing? The final anime of September, to lead into October, is Demon City Shinjuku. I promised myself that I'd be able to actually start summarizing anime again. I cannot tell you what this anime is about, because I was so taken aback by the dubbing. As I said earlier, because I was doing so much stuff with PAX, I could not focus to subs whatsoever. So I had to listen to the dub version of Demon City Shinjuku. Wow. The protagonist, like, the entire anime, it just sounds like mildly annoyed with everything the entire time.
With a bouquet by the reigning Miss Universe.
Leave it alone. I'm here to kill you.
Which I find absolutely fucking hilarious. But contrasted with the heroine being so earnest was just an interesting time. Also, half the time I have no clue what they're talking about, because there is an actual plot, and there is, like, the plot points, but the scene is set so fucking quickly in the very beginning of the movie that I'm just like, okay, what are we doing? It was just a lot that I wasn't expecting. So for the giggles, because the dubbing was taking me out sometimes, I thought the dubbing was really, like, silly goofy. I give it, like, a 5 out of 10. It's not awful, I just really couldn't follow along what was going on because the dubbing was just taking me the fuck out. So, that is all for September anime and manga of 2025. Let's now go into October. 'Tis the season. I can't believe that actually worked. Come, monster. Welcome to October. October manga, there was no manga. And that's truly the most horrifying part of it. So, oh my god, sit there. Get smushed by Hetalia. Also, Leisha's gotten into Hetalia, that's also horrifying. But let's talk about the anime for October that I watched, as this part's gonna be a little bit cut up, seeing as tomorrow I am going to go see the Chainsaw Man movie. But I need to record this tonight, otherwise there will be no Weeb wrap up for next week. So, in October, what did I watch? Simply put, as I said, Leisha got into Hetalia this month. Well, last month, but... So, as a equivalent exchange, I got into The Apothecary Diaries. So, The Apothecary Diaries is of the main character Mao Mao, a daughter of an apothecary who gets kidnapped and sold into the rear palace of the emperor as a worker girl. But by chance, she happens upon Jinchi, who then promotes her to lady-in-waiting of one of the concubines, one of the high-ranking concubines of the emperor. Now, that's just a spark notes of the intro of the series. Now, I need to preface that this is a review of season 1 and season 2, and I'm gonna kind of divide them, because season 1 I knew so much about because of YouTube and all of the reels I've watched on YouTube. Like, I have basically seen half of the last episode on YouTube, so me watching the series, it was basically just building up to, okay, this is the last episode, this is what happens in the last episode, I know that identically, so what do we do to get to point B from point A? And, like, I learned all the spoilers as well, like how Mao Mao's dad is not actually her dad, but a weirdo is, and that Mao Mao's mother hates her because she was part of the courtesans of the red light district. Yeah, I know all that already. Pretty much my review for season 1. What I liked about it, I really, really liked the mystery aspect. I like that, this is just in general, I like that how it all sort of like flows together really well. Every episode, there is not a dull moment. That's all I can say. It gives me very free room vibes, and that is actually something I've recommended to Leisha. If she liked Apothecary Diaries, she might like Free Run, because the character of Mao Mao is very similar to the character of Free Run, and it is actually to my benefit that I watched Free Run first, so that I could have a similar character dynamic in a wildly different show. And I love that Jinchi is an idiot, but the main thing I was having in the first season was me not believing that Jinchi was the same age as Mao Mao. Because that was a spoiler that I knew, that Jinchi and Mao Mao were the same age. And I'm sat there watching all of their interactions going, how the fuck is this man a teenager? And then the more I watch, the more I'm like, yeah, no, that's a teenager. How? So that was my main notes for season 1. It was a lot of me like calling Jinchi an idiot, really liking his character type. Not so much of like, oh my god, I love Jinchi. More like, I love that he's an idiot, and I love that he's dumb. But like, I actually could not get over that he wasn't the original age that he presented as. So, moving on to season 2, because that's really, really what I want to talk about. I just finished it like a couple days ago. Season 2, after watching all of season 2, that note that I made where it's like every single episode is interconnected, I really love that this series does not have filler episodes. Like, when you're watching them, you think, okay, yeah, it's a filler episode, but it's actually really important to the plot. Like, there's a ghost story episode and a bathhouse episode, and they are both actually important to the fucking plot, which is crazy. Like, in other animes, that would be the filler gag episode, but it's not. I also want to say that Je suis, and I think it's pronounced Je suis, because when I heard people saying it in the anime, it sounded like they were saying je suis, like the French words. And when I kept saying je suis to Leisha, she was like,
what the fuck? Who's je suis? Do you mean?
And like, because she watched the sub, I watched the dub, but she was so confused at how I was pronouncing it, because it sounds like je suis in the dub. But je suis, I love her character arc, because originally, like, she appeared to be that random character that like just appeared but was there the entire time. I love that she's not, and she literally like just appeared. Episodes leading up to the reveal of who she actually is, I clocked so quickly that she was concubine Lolan, and like I love that. I love how like just like layered her character is. It's so fun. She like, okay, so I wasn't a big fan of Je suis. She did kind of annoy me. Also, obviously there was something off with concubine Lolan, and we never got to talk to her because she was Je suis the entire time. But just the way they finished off that character arc in the end of the season was so good. Like, oh my god, I loved it so much. And that's what I mean by how every little thing matters in this series. It's like such a good way of storytelling. It's why I love Higurashi as well, why I'm really loving Umineko, and why like I liked Shinsa Kayori, even though I can't recommend Shinsa Kayori. Apothecary Diaries, love all the details, love that it's all like connected. I love mystery series like that so much. It just adds another layer of tension and suspense, and with a fantastic payoff. Another thing for season 2. So season 1, I wasn't really paying attention to Jinchi and Mao Mao's like romantic relationships, because it was usually just Jinchi being a dumbass, and I was hyperfixating on Jinchi being a dumbass. Season 2. Oh, I might need to run to AO3 for this one because, oh my god. So this is another thing. When the manga came out, I saw everything in the Apothecary Diaries fandom of Jinchi's frog. And I know that whole Twitter thread of like people trying to guess how big the frog it actually is. But when I didn't expect it to happen in season 2. I thought it would be like later in the series kind of thing. I didn't realize it was this like early-ish in the series. Because I expect, 7, 8 episode seasons of things. But Jinchi acting on his urges compared to season 1. Wow. Just kiss already. Just kiss already. Fuck's sake, just kiss already. Though I will say, when Jinchi was trying to do things next to the dead children, there are children's lives to be saved here, sir. Read the fucking room. He's an idiot. He's a fucking idiot. Also, the last episode when Jinchi met Mao Mao at, I can't remember the name of the courtesan house off the top of my head, the one in the red light district. The old lady was so ready for them to fuck. It was so funny. Oh, that reminds me. Season 2, the Moonlight Princess thing. I watched that with Leisha and with Mia. I guessed instantly that was the old woman. I looked over to Leisha and went, oh, is the Moonlight Princess the old woman? And just, she had, like, her reaction to me guessing it instantly, like, just told me everything I needed to know. Like, I physically can't watch things with Leisha, because if I guess them, she's just gonna confirm it with a look. And it's really funny. So yeah, one more thing. As I said, I watched the dub. Why does the Emperor sound like that? I'm sorry. Why does he have a bro voice?
Apothecary, wait. There's somewhere I must go, and I will need you at hand.
Where, sire?
Away to the Shrine of Choosing.
Apothecary. Why does the Emperor sound like a dude, bro? So yes, I gave the Apothecary Diaries an 8 out of 10. There is some stuff that I could live without. There's some stuff I would want more of, because there were parts where I sort of just disassociated. But I really loved the execution, especially how it all builds to the final, like, 2 to 4 episodes. So that being said, I would love to have seen more Konkimon Gyoko in the last episodes. Anyway, I really loved, especially season 2. I think I like season 2 more than season 1, just because I went into it blind. I heard there's a movie and a season 3 coming out, so I will probably be dragged to that with Leisha. By Leisha. And yeah, so that is all for now. But let's get into the Chainsaw Man movie. It's the next day. Oh my gosh, I've watched Chainsaw Man. And I have things to say about it. So obviously I have already read and watched the anime. I also, before watching this, completely forgot that I had watched the sub of the anime series, not the dub. So I got a little bit of a shock when I started watching it. Denji started speaking and I'm like, that's not Denji. What did I do to Denji? So, what are my thoughts on Chainsaw Man? Well, first of all, I love seeing my favorite characters, Simp Boy, and my pathetic girlfriend Kabeni. There was supposed to be more to that, but I completely forgot other character nicknames I gave them. I have some notes. I did take notes in the movie theater. I was the only one in the movie theater. So, first of all, I love how they did the violence the Fiend. I love how sassy he is. I love, first of all, I thought he was British. I would have loved to seen the Violence Fiend as being British, especially since he has a Plague Doctor mask. I would have loved to see the Violence Fiend be British. As I said, I watched the dub. Hearing Archie call Angel an ice cream addict while he's throwing away his cigarettes is really funny. As I noted, I love Kabeni, my pathetic wife. The fact that she got most of her screen time in Denji's fantasies is crazy. Denji going, yeehaw motherfucker, was also really funny. So I love, I know this is the arc where Beam was kind of introduced, and I love Beam. He's one of like my favorite fiends. But I thought his character was really funny in this arc. I don't recall it being that funny in the manga, and there were points where I completely forgot they existed in the manga, like that whole start bit with Makima. So reliving it was interesting, especially when I didn't remember half of the scenes. I want to find out who is Riza's voice actor. Alexis Tipton. I knew I recognized her voice from something. Okay, this is why I like have such a strong connective memory between characters who have the same voice actor. She's Hatsume Mei. Who's the other character that she plays that I know really well? Kaguya. That's who I was thinking of. She is the voice of Kaguya from Kaguya-sama Love is War. That makes sense. I was sitting there in the theater going, I recognize this bitch's voice. And it's not Christina V. And I know that much. In terms of the voice acting, I thought it was really funny. The characters, I've already seen the arc, I thought they were really funny. I like how the animation added to these characters, and I really like how they brought Riz to life. But I do have my faults. So, I think the fight scenes were animated beautifully. I think they were fantastic. I really love the artistic styling they've gone with it, with the POV shots, and they are actual point of view shots. Like, from Denji's point of view, from points of view of inside buildings. I think those shots are fantastic. It is something new that you don't typically see in anime. And it really adds a weight to the destruction of the city that they're in. And I think that's really cool. But me saying that the fight scenes are animated beautifully does mean something's gotta give. And that is all of the very civilian scenes. For some reason, I felt like the actual TV show, and it's probably because it was like blown up on a big screen, I feel like the actual TV show was animated better than the movie, which usually you want the movie to be better, but I understand this is technically the continuation. I think I just have high hopes, seeing as most other anime movies I've watched have had an improvement in animation quality for some reason, whereas the fight scenes, while I think are artistically different than the TV show, I don't think have that much of a visual diversity from the show. And I would say my main example of this is when Riz is first shown to be the bomb devil to us, and captures the typhoon devil. So I say this because I understand artistically what they were doing in some of the scenes. How there was one section where Riz is standing up after she's done singing, and behind her is solid red. Well, not solid red, but like it's a really red horizon, with a plane behind her, and it's supposed to evoke the imagery of a bomb being dropped, thus the bomb devil. However, the very next frame, the sunset is gone, and it's raining, and it feels a bit all over the place. And I get that one was stylistic, but there's also just pans between the close-up shot of Riz and then her being further out and we're behind the guy who's trying to murder her, and she looks completely different in 2 shots. I did like all of the close-ups they did of her. They did a really good job characterizing her and giving her depth and just making her look really pretty, but again, just in the sort of civilian life stuff, I really thought the quality tanked a bit. Not as bad as Uzumaki, which I will actually talk about in this, but something about it felt much lower quality compared to the fight scenes, which I get. The fight scenes are always the most like animated and stuff, although has the most detail put into it, but there's just like a tangible difference between the 2 scenes, and there really shouldn't be that much of a difference. Then I've got 2 thoughts popping around my mind. I will very, very quickly say the first one, which has been in my mind the entire time. I really like how they portrayed Rize as being attractive to Denji face-wise. And I say that at one point she completely strips down, and yes, Denji notices. Denji has fantasies of all these girls in underwear and stuff like that. But in that moment, we see Rize's face. And that's it. We focus on her eyes, her face, how she's looking at Denji, and I really, really loved that. I thought that was really good from like an artistic point of view, meaning that like Denji is like connecting with Rize despite the fact that she is stripping directly in front of him. I was gonna say the very start being black and white and looking straight out of the manga, for the most part there was some things that could have been slightly improved on to make it more look straight out of the manga, but I really loved that. I thought that was really neat of the animators. In terms, a lot of my gripes is with the animation and how things are animated, what like problems I have to say. In general, I did enjoy the movie. I liked it a lot, but I already liked the arc in the manga. I did find Beam to be one of the best characters. I really, really love how they characterized Rize, and I think, like, I loved her arc before. I think I really, really love it now. Just like the way they handled her character, that was just something that I really loved. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10, just because there are things that bothered me. It is more on the technical side. I can appreciate the artistic liberties that they've taken, but it is something that bothered me. And again, I've already read the manga, so I know what happens. But yeah, so I think that is all for Chainsaw Man. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video to the best of your ability. It's mostly anime at the moment. Shut up, I hate work at the moment, and the only thing I have the mental capability to do is to watch anime, and I'm really upset because I actually have the next volume of Whisper Me a Love Song and I haven't been able to read it because I just don't have the time or the energy. Thus why I started drinking the Calm Monster. This shit also makes me fall asleep. Like, there has been multiple times where I've drunk it and then immediately passed out. So I don't know what that says about me, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.